Yo, what's up,
Yo,
everybody?
Up.
Welcome to the 5 Digit World Cup 2023 prediction stream. Yay, 5 digits.
woo!
My name is Bento or Bento Kage. I am your host for the stream. I am very bad at playing in tournaments, but I'm very good at watching them. I am joined by my co-commentators here. If you'd like to introduce yourselves left to right.
F/.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tycani. How are you all doing in the chat today? Here for the prediction stream. I'm very excited personally for this tournament. As a 5 digit myself, and I got to try out and stuff, and it was super fun. So I'm really excited for every team and seeing everyone try to qualify. And so I'm just kind of here to lay down that excitement, I feel.
Hello, I am Spectre, or Dominic. I am very excited for a bunch of the underdog teams to finally be able to prove themselves. Excited for these new timer teams like Tunisia finally being able to get a team. Very interesting, and I'm just really excited for the next 4 or 5-ish weeks. So,
Hello, I'm Connie. I've been playing in these 5 digit World Cup tournaments for like over 4 years now, and I am very excited if this year we're gonna be seeing the best 5WC yet.
Hello, I am VRTGX, better known as Tesco Meal Deal. I am in the same boat as Coney. I've been playing 5WC for a long time now. I'm also excited to see where it'll go, the new age of play, and yeah. I fumbled. Sorry, lads.
Y'all good.
Drop the ball. It's all good.
So, this stream is pretty much what it says on the tin. If you've watched the stream for 5WC last year or the stream that they do for OWC every year, you more or less know what's going on. For those who are uninitiated, the stream will mostly consist of us going through every single team through the alphabet top to bottom, introducing their rosters and highlighting some key players along the way, and trying to perform a prediction of where we think the teams are going to place in this tournament. We have a tier list on the screen here along with their qualifier placement last year, not what they got in the tournament. It was what they got out of qualifiers specifically. And we'll be slowly filling the prediction list as we go down, and by the end we'll have a completed prediction for every team for every stage of the bracket. Before we begin, just like a bit of further explanation and a few disclaimers. I am not Jesus H. I cannot tell you what will happen tomorrow. For all I know, the team that I think will win this tournament might not qualify, and this is especially true for how volatile the 5 digit range can be. This list will not be correct, it's just our personal thoughts, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
we're going to get it wrong. We're going to get it
We're
right.
going to very wrong.
speak for yourself,
Very
guys. All
funny.
right, speak for yourself, guys.
If you think that we're wrong about anything and you think that you're the all-seeing eye of the 5 digits, exclamation point pick'em in the chat. You can test your luck on the pick'ems over on the Hello Watcher website. I don't know, you can predict, I think first place gets something. I don't forget what the prize is, but I think we have something for first place. Feel free to test your luck. And on the note of us being really wrong, the first person to make one of those images with the finished tier list and the transparent cartoon speech bubble on the top gets a round of applause from every comedian who has ever lived. While we do these predictions, we might overfill or underfill some of the tiers, I should say. So, for example, we might have 3 teams in the 7-8 spot, even though only 2 teams can actually fit there in a bracket. Once we are done with the final country in the list, we will go back and rearrange things so that we have something that fits a normal bracket by the end of the stream. A lot of the players in this tournament are way too good to be in this rank range. I'll be referring to a lot of them as super players. I don't know where this term came from, but everyone in 5 digit has been using it to mark all of the many Walmart brand Utamis that we have running around. I would love to describe people as one of the best players in the tournament when they are that good, but there's like 100 of them, so giving them a general label is a little bit easier. I am unfortunately not able to spend time going extremely in-depth on every single player in the tournament. If it was just me streaming this, I would love to do a 10-hour stream going over everyone, but we just don't have that time. So if I don't say as much as you may have wanted for your country, it is unironically probably because I had to cut my notes down to fit the length of the stream. The notes that I have right now are about 54 pages in Google Docs. That's not a joke. So this stream might be a little long. Prediction streams are normally around like 3 hours for OWC, and we have a couple more countries than they do. So it might be around like 3.5 to 4. That's where I'll try to keep it, but if I go over, that's my bad. And on the note of me talking a lot, I'll be naming off every player in this roster. I am very bad at pronouncing names. If you watch me commentate 5 USC, you know that firsthand. As you see on our lovely Argentinian roster that we're going to be starting with, some of these players have the most unpronounceable names that God has ever sent my way. If I mispronounce your name, my bad. Just let me know. I think like after stream, so I can correct it by the time that I may end up on commentary for someone's matches. So with all that out of the way, Argentina. That thing on screen is the motor of a Mazda CX-7, and it's also pronounced Vierha apparently, which I think is Javier with the syllable swap. So from the top of the list, we have Vexian, Vierha, Name, Bubon, Snow, Blackster, Keys, and Mike Lido 69. Vexian back from 2020 to play in their third 5WC. Yep. Keys back from 2019 to play their second. Name returning from last year as well to make up the veteran players on the team. Name is one of the players I do want to highlight. They've been performing very well in tournament recently. Stuff like Aknum's Banger Cup, which they entered with Vierha, who's the other player I do want to highlight actually. He's been putting up a lot of really great scores for someone who's a little newer to tournaments, and they've been like pretty much forming into a super player of their own recently. They've had fantastic match costs on any tournament that the Argentinians decide to put up a team for. I am surprised personally that I don't see Legacy on this team. Legacy Quit W, aka Shoujo Quit W. She's been basically omnipresent in tournaments recently, and I was definitely expecting to see her here. But even regardless, I still think this team is very good. They've been showing very strong performances lately, and I think the relative strength of other rosters factoring in, I would give them a pretty good shot at least taking a match here. I have them for now at 17th. Those are my thoughts. Discuss.
Yeah, Vexion, a veteran in the tournament scene, has been playing so many tournaments, and I think overall, like the supporting player, like Geese as well, playing, I think they're better than last year. So I'm going for 17 to 24.
Yeah, they've got a few returning players from previous years. They got a Name from 2022, Vexion and Keys from previous years. I would love to put them 17th to 24th, but I think due to the fact that they do tend to get skill capped and they also have very minimal hidden presence, that's going to be a severe hindrance for them. So at the moment, I have them 25th to 32nd.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am at as well. In a tournament with such level of strength, I have a hard time thinking that they're going to go 17th to 24th, and they can feel free to prove me as wrong as they like, but at least for now, I'd say 25th is probably the right place.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm with Vertigo on this one. I think that they just have they have some good returning players. That being said, most of them, for the most part, haven't really seen too much in the tournament community. Plus, like the level of play this 5WC has definitely gone up in my opinion. So even if they've improved, have they improved as much as the other teams, which is kind of my biggest concern, as well as the skill cap. But I do think they are good enough to qualify for sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
I would be very surprised if they don't qualify.
Oh yeah, no, I think they're qualifying for sure. So we'll throw them in 25-32 for the time being.
Yep.
Again, we will be going back and switching everyone around at the end if we need to make space for anyone. So we'll move on then to Australia. The roster of Kirigiri, Train Jumper, Twaru, All Blue, Yu-Gi-Oh! Kid 8, Yellow Jello, Super Nye, and Whoop.
This is such an upgrade. This is such a big upgrade.
Yeah,
it is. It really is.
It really.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Kid, of course, a Osu alumni 5-digit profile ID, a legend of the scene. I am happy to see him back for another year. I'm very surprised that this is Kirigiri's 5WC debut. I kind of thought they played earlier just because of how good they are. Definitely one of Australia's better players and has been around since at least early 2021. He's finally here to take on the World Cup. I'm happy to see him. Train Jumper and Twaru are back for their third year in a row as well. Two more veterans of the team who also serve as very high-quality players. Out of their new players, I do want to highlight All Blue and Super Nye. All Blue is not as active in tournament as some of these other players, but they're kind of the wild card pick for Australia, looking to provide some potential skill cap for the team that's already got a pretty decent amount of skill cap to begin with. I think Blue was around like rank 8,000 8 months ago, actually, so take that as you will. Super Nye, on the other hand, is a mega tournament grinder. I swear I see him in like 3 separate tournaments every week. He definitely has been making a name for himself recently. Oh, Jesus, voice crack. I think this team has everything you really need. You have your core players in Kirigiri and Train Jumper especially, who are able to just kind of play pretty much everything, even into the later stages of the tournament. You have some very good specialty players in your pocket, like Jello and Yu-Gi-Oh! Kid. You have a ton of long-standing tournament talent that can stand up to a lot of these other teams. I have them having a very good year this year. For now, I have them at 9th place.
Yeah, just rehashing the same stuff. They're like the team definitely is an upgrade from last year. Picking up Kirigiri is such a huge buff to the Australian roster. Such a good player that wasn't playing before, surprisingly. Having them at 9th, well, they placed 9th last year, and their team caliber is so much higher, even though the tournament's caliber is so much higher. I actually have them at 4th for the time being. I think they can stand up to some of the top teams.
Interesting.
I respect
Yeah,
it.
I think I'm also gonna put them a bit higher, 7 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
4th, that's I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. You never know. It's all about the day, and
Yeah.
especially because if I hate to mention this, but if scheduling goes their way, they also have a huge addition in that
That's
point
true.
with the timings as well. If they do manage to get scheduling in their favor, they have every chance to go the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't put him as high as 4th, but I definitely believe in Australia this year more so than last year. And for this reason, I'll be putting him at 7th, 8th place.
I personally think that this is the best roster Australia's ever had. With the addition of Kirigiri and then Train Jumper Toaru returning, those names alone strike fear into the hearts of men. And they just have all their other players are just, you can recognize like most of them just anywhere. You just see the name, just like, oh yeah, I don't want to go against that person in a tournament. And then they're all just on one team. I think that this team definitely could honestly get top 3 if scheduling goes their way, bracket goes their way.
Interesting.
That being said, I do have them 5th to 6th. I do think that they at least do get finals.
Yeah. That is fair for now. I should probably mention for my own, at least the way I was doing this, the team is between like 7th place and 9th place. Like all 6 of the teams that fit between 7th and 12th are really like a coin flip whether they're going to go up or down. I think they're all super, super close to each other. So it's hard for me to personally say who will go where. So I think they can definitely make a potential top 8 run here. I'll put them what do we want to average this as? We have 2 outliers here. I think 7/8's fine for now, and we'll move them up if we need
Yeah,
to
I'm
later.
willing to go down to 7th to 8th on this. Yeah, it's just I just have a good feeling about this roster.
I respect it. I respect the believing.
Yeah, I can see them.
My kings.
I think this is most likely.
All right.
It's the UK Australia connect.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, moving on to Austria. With their roster of Lakia, Gadzi, Farmist Fan, who is formerly known as Ariola, Volky, Junk Spylight Sushi, Sadboy42, Z11A, formerly known as Benny, and Teppy Fangirl, formerly known as Terax. Barely squeaking in last year at 32nd. Austria's here to see if they could do it again. Last year was so far the only year they've been able to qualify for the tournament. They had a couple pretty solid scores. I remember their No Mod 4 score being pretty decent. Unfortunately, as Lakia put it in the team's roster submission, the Austrian animals have escaped the zoo, which I assume is referring to Bearded Hippo and Monkey Moon. Monkey Moon was their captain in 2020, and I suppose he's still around, at least in some capacity. But losing Bearded Hippo especially is a massive hit for Austria, I think. He was by far their best player. He had a lot of very absurd scores last year that really pushed them into that qualifying position. And I don't really see any roster changes that could have replaced the skill that he brought to the team. So without that hard carry player on the team, I think their qualifying chances are a little bit shot. I think they're one of the teams. I'm kind of going to say this about a few teams, but I think there's a couple teams in like the 33 to 38 range that could very easily qualify, and it's kind of a coin flip based on how the other teams in the area do. But if I'm betting money on it, I don't have them qualifying for the time being.
Yeah, I don't see them without Bearded Hippo qualifying. I would be very pleasantly surprised if they do, but I doubt it. I know Teppy Fangirl is a very good reading player, but not really like core type of player you need to get past qualifiers.
Yeah, I agree. The massive hits with losing players like the caliber of Bearded Hippo and Monkey Moon. It's even they squeaked in last year. Like I said, 32nd in the qualifying, and taking a hit like that, it really hurts their chances. I'd love to see them do it. Like every team, I'd love to see them do it, but I just really don't think that they're prepared for this level of play from this year, especially with like the advance of all the other teams. So yeah, DNQ for me.
All right.
That's a resounding DNQ. It looks like.
Yeah, anyone have anything
Yeah.
remaining?
Yeah, Bearded Hippo, very strong player. They were barely able to squeak by with Bearded Hippo, so it's not looking great for them. That being said, if they do qualify, don't see them winning a match. I just think that they've got such a rookie team, plus like the skill cap might be there like immediately, so that's also something got to factor in. So I just don't
Yeah.
see any hope for them, unfortunately. Maybe next year.
That's fair.
The speech bubble Tillis is going to come through when Austria wins the whole thing. You know,
This is a
the speech bubble's going to come through.
It
true.
is always important to note Austria is not just Bearded Hippo. They have a lot of very like capable players on their team, but there are so many teams. We have almost 60 of them who have capable players. It's just hard
Yeah.
to kind of pick which ones are actually going to be able to qualify.
Mm.
So I guess that's where our brains lie at the moment. We'll put them D and Q for now, and we will move on to Belarus, which is a very interesting country to me. Their full roster: Yuka, Decheg, Cringelad, Zunev, Wexy, Tibi M, Remtuk, and I'm not even going to try with the last one. This is a country that I think a lot of people would initially write off. They placed 46th out of qualifiers in 2020 and 45th in 2022. They didn't play at all in 2021. I assume they didn't have enough players. But Belarus is having a bit of a renaissance of sorts, at least in my opinion, and there's a couple of factors here at play for that. Wexy and Zunev coming back from last year, there were two players on the roster that were really bumping them up above being in dead last qualifying, and they have been grinding a lot since the last 5WC, and I think personally that both of them have gotten a lot better since. Wexy is genuinely one of the better hidden players in the tournament, and Zunev is able to provide a pretty decent amount of scaling, which will be very helpful on the 6.3 star qualifier pool we have these 5 digits playing. But the real highlight on this team is Decheg. Decheg has been playing tournaments pretty consistently since 2020, but over the last year or so, he exploded in skill and now has cemented himself as a super player, getting himself a bunch of banners for tournaments like Monkey Cup 3 and Patan Tournament, I believe. The grind is absolutely paying off for him, and I unironically think having on the team just shoots them up to qualifying at least. He's going to really be able to provide him the scores on qualifiers to get them there. They could even get a round or two in, I think. It's a little hard just because they're probably going to be in the I don't think they're going to qualify above 16th, and so they're going to have to play teams and avoid getting low SR'd. I have them at 25th personally. I could see them easily going a little bit further, with just depending on the bracket. But I do think that Belarus is at least qualifying.
Yeah, I feel like Belarus is some sort of a sleeper team. You know, it's never really been expected in the past with previous results. I mean, in 2019 they did qualify, but that's 2019. That's 4 years ago now. So, like the last few years, we've just not seen much from them. But sort of like on the underside, they've been improving, especially with the Czech coming out and improving at the rate that he hasn't been improving. I feel like they do have a real possibility to push into the mid stage of the tournament this year and outperform themselves the last few years. So yeah, I think 25th to 32nd is a reasonable prediction for the time being. They could go further, but I think that's for the time being. That's where I'm going to place them.
Yeah, I think with the addition of Decheg coming back, Wexy, you see a bunch of these names. They're clearly good enough to qualify. My biggest concern is again I don't think they're going to be able to qualify above 16, so they're going to be going up against not super players but super teams, and I don't necessarily think that they have the capacity just yet to be able to compete with that yet. In the next few years, I can definitely see. I wouldn't be surprised in making semifinals, maybe even potentially finals if these group of guys stay together, grind up. But because of that, I do have them qualifying. but I do not see them winning a match, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's one of
No,
those
I
things-
disagree. I disagree. I think with the core of Yuka, Dcheg, and Cringelat, and they have the supporting players, I think they can win a match. I really do think that. Yeah.
This is one of
They're
those
just-
teams where I'm like, there's like kind of two archetypes of teams in this tournament. There are the teams that have a lot of really consistent players across the board, and then there are the teams that have like a lot of really like super omega good players like Dcheg. And it's really a matter of like in the lower SR rounds, are they going to run into a team that has more consistency at that SR than their whole team does? Because if you just plopped Belarus into like quarterfinals, I think they take like multiple matches just because of how good Dcheg is and how they have like a pretty decent amount of backing. But it's just hard with getting low SR because all of these 32 teams that I have qualifying are just so good.
All right.
Yeah, I personally put them in a do not qualify. I'm not sure if the Czech will be enough, but they could easily prove me wrong. I think you guys have brought up some great points. So I'm really excited to see how Belarus plays, honestly, to see if the Czech can bring the team into a new era just with that level of skill.
We'll put them 25-32 for now.
Yep.
Best of luck, obviously, to Belarus. Moving on to Belgium. Team of Salter, Arnev, Kaja something, Uyaz, Kazix, Mental Moose, Xenix, and Flappa Osu. The Moose is loose for the country of Belgium this year. Coney, you have captained this team in the past. I remember you and Vinny playing 2019 and 2020
Yeah.
and doing very solidly. Tell me what you know about this Belgian team.
It is much, much better than last year. Yeah. Overall, pretty much. The only loss, pretty much, is Blitz or not being there. All the other players are pretty much an upgrade. So I do see them qualifying. If they win a match, I don't know. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be surprised if they don't qualify. So I think I will be putting them at the 25.
Yep, that's pretty fair.
Yeah, they don't have Konipaku on their roster. That's a
Yeah.
bit unlucky.
It's a
Unfortunately
big
for them.
big nerf, no Konepaku.
Yeah. I was not really sure where to put Belgium. I have them like literally like it's a coin flip in my head between whether I put them 25-32 and whether I put them D and Q. So I would like to see what the rest of you guys think on this personally.
Personally, I currently have them in DNQ. That's just sort of. I don't know. It's again, it's a coin flip. A lot of these teams are just pure coin flips on whether or not they will whether or not they'll qualify, whether or not they'll win a match. Personally, I don't think Belgium has as strong a chance as some of the other teams that go into that sort of grey area. But yeah, it's a tough one, but at the moment I do have them at DNQ.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat as you. I think that they're definitely going in the right direction for sure. My biggest concern is the same thing with Austria, is they have a good set of players, but are they good enough to be able to, move them from like 33 to 32 or from like 32 to 31 or something like that. They're just I don't know. I don't know too much about these players. I've seen Kaja something and a few of these players around here and there, but I've never really seen any of these players like at the end of tournaments. Yeah, but I do think that they're definitely moving in the right direction.
You said it was a coin flip, right?
For me.
25th,
No.
32nd.
I do think they're going to qualify. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Fair enough. We'll put them at 25-32. I think they are definitely, if they do not qualify, I think for certain their qualifying like place will go up from the 43rd they had last year.
For sure.
I think they will do pretty decently. I think I
This is
thinking, like-
just gonna be like OWC, where we predict they're gonna qualify and they're gonna get like 33.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking like anywhere between 30 and 30, like 6 or 7 is kind of the range that this team is in for me. So we'll see where they can end up. It is just before we move on, I do want to note, there were 6 players as of last year who have played every single 5WC ever. This is the first year that Necrofear is not playing. I don't know. I just like listing statistics like that. There are 2 players who have played in every single 5WC, including this one, and they're on the same team, and we'll get to that later when we get there.
Yeah.
But for now, we will move on to Bolivia. Full
Yeah,
roster,
this should be its fast one, I think.
a little bit. Full roster of Luxia, Penkeso, Ganthar, Jose, I'm Amelia, Zeta, Jota, Semimat, and Rizu. I probably butchered most of those. Our first brand new country up to the stand, making their
First place.
5WC debut this year. Round of applause to them.
Woo!
Thank you for getting
Let's
a team
go,
together and
Bolivia.
coming to the tournament to
Vamos.
play.
Let's go. These are my
Uh,
goats.
Obviously, it's kind of the same thing with a lot of new teams where they do not have as much experience as the other teams, especially in a tournament like this. A lot of the other new countries we'll see later don't even have 8 players. This one does, at the very least. I do know Penkeso is a very decent player. I've seen them around in tournaments like BRF putting up pretty decent scores, but it is a question of whether these 8 players as a team are able to stand up to a lot of the more experienced teams in the tournament, and I don't think they quite are at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to spend a lot of time on this. This is an easy first place for me. I feel these
Uh-huh.
are going to go. They're going to go all the way. They're going to win straight
Yep.
up. Yeah. No, on a real,
Yeah.
I think inexperience is going to play a large factor in their position, in their placing in qualifiers and subsequent matches if they do qualify. And also, it's you hate to say it, but a lot of the players do have farm maps as their tops. And I'm not really sure how that will translate. You know, if they do a lot of farm, they play it like that's a lot of what they play. How will that translate into sort of tournament geared maps? I could be completely wrong. They could be Score V2 demons. But yeah, I inexperience is going to play a large part for me. I don't really think they qualify this time. I'd love to see them in the future. I'd see them, I'd love to see them improve and go further. But
Absolutely.
for right now, I don't really see it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. When I was doing research, I tried doing everything I can. Look at if they have banners, badges, previous matches, and I just didn't see any of that from them, which doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad players or a bad team. But that being said, when you look at the top plays, you see Harimachi Clover, DT, and all this stuff. It doesn't give you the greatest feeling trying to rate them. Plus, I don't know any of these players. I don't think I've ever seen any of these players in any tournaments, unfortunately. It is amazing though that you guys are able to get a team. I love seeing new teams in 5WC. It's just great. I want to get every single country, in the world eventually. I think that might be optimistic, but yeah, I just
Prediction
unfortunately,
stream is
Vatican City OSU team.
unfortunately, I think it's DNQ.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the Pope is an English player, sadly. So it's
All right. Yes.
Yeah, we'll
On to the
throw
next
them in
one.
and move on. Again, thank you to Bolivia for getting a team together. We hope to see you
Awesome.
more in the future.
got a
Moving
prediction
to
stream that's a day and a half long.
moving to Brazil. Roster of
Brazil.
I Factor, Kite, Kalel, Dotro, Kakir M, Kyok, Luska Juj, I think is how you pronounce that, and Snek. Unfortunately, mirroring their OWC counterparts in 2022, this team did lose a lot of its very good players over the last 6 months. Lancho, Thacer, Neont, and Arisu, I think, all quit the game. Neko Raw is like around a little bit, but he's not playing super actively. He was actually on their list of backups, funnily enough. He was submitted as like a replacement player, but he's not on the main roster. That being said, Brazil did have 325 signups this year. They definitely participated in the go hunt down all the players on their country leaderboard method. So they had plenty of talent to pick from their roster, and this is the 8 that they ended up with. They retained some very important players from last year's roster, namely Dotro and Kyok, and they gained a couple strong players as well. Kalel, for example, has been very solid for Brazil recently. I know he's playing for them in the Jiu-Jitsu Country Bonanza, whatever tournament that's currently going on. I think the real highlight player here is Luskazuj. He has been popping off recently. He's been grinding a lot of stuff multiplayer-wise, and he's been a very good few tournaments recently, and he seems very prepared for the tournament ahead. Don't know about them getting a 5th place run again. That is where they ended up last year. I would argue that they are still bringing some pretty good competition, though.
Yeah.
I have them around 17th, but I could easily see them going 13th out of the teams I have at 17th. I think they are very close to that area. They're definitely winning a match or two minimum.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a worse team than last year, definitely, but I think they can still win a bunch of matches.
Yeah.
this absolutely.
Okay, no,
Go
carry on.
ahead.
Carry on, it's okay.
This absolutely isn't the same Brazil from last year, but I still think they have the potential to show. And I think 17th to 24th is about the right place. I think they will win something, but I'm not sure about going as far as they did last year again.
Yeah, this last year's run was very strong from Brazil, and of course, losing over half of their star-studded roster from last year. That's obviously going to hurt. But like countries like this who usually have good rosters tend to fill pretty well. And looking at the players this time, I mean, Luskajuj won. He's got a badge. I don't know what that tells you.
It's pretty good. Player.
Yeah, having a badge usually is a hallmark of a very good tournament player. So if everyone else is on par with Luskajuj, they could. Luskajuj even. They could really go the distance. Right now I have them 9th to 12th. But I don't see them going quite as far, but they're still very far into the tournament in my eyes.
Argentina. I think Argentina was on screen for a second.
Oh,
Argentina.
Man, if there was no BWS in this tournament, X-Kirito could have played.
Oh, well, yeah.
No.
He
That
would
was
find
so
a way.
funny.
He would find a
Society
way.
if no BWS.
Yeah, but that is not the case. So
I respect the hell out of him for at least pinning his best D rank scores. I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
But he's not in range at the moment. But we're safe from him for the time being.
I think Brazil is always one of those teams that just get it done. They like if we go back to just the history of the roster, they always replace like at least half their team, and even so, like 2021 they got 13th, which is not a bad placement, and even last year they got 5th after replacing players like T Light. I just think this country is probably an underdog. That being said, they did lose a lot of their pieces, so it's hard for me to put them like super high, like in finals. That being said, I do think I'm gonna put them 17th to 24th. I don't think there's any debate whether they qualify or not. I think everyone realizes that they're just that good of a team that they will qualify, and they'll definitely win a match. But anything other than that, I'm just a little bit hesitant, and I definitely do think I could be proven wrong. This team, I think, definitely could make a run.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I think we're in mostly agreement here. We can throw them
Yeah,
17-24.
No, I'm a little high up as usual. I know I'm just high hopes for everyone. My guys, everyone wins
If
in my
it was
heart.
Everyone is
possible for
first.
every team to get first, I would love to see every team get first, but someone has to get owned. So
It's like the
Yep.
fairy tale end to the coming of age teen movie.
Yep.
They will like sort of throw everyone up in the air.
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna move to Canada. Here's an interesting team.
Canada.
Deflated Dolphin, Birchman, Jolly Ranchers, Kev Orc, Lexic, Plute, Speed of Snail, and Fluffy Echo. A roster looking to rebound from last year, has historically been a lock-in for top 6, but they had a very unlucky bracket last year, losing to 2 top 6 teams from that tournament in Brazil and the UK, and ended up getting 14th as a result.
My fault. It won't happen again.
Yeah. This roster is looking very, very solid. I do not see them having any issues getting back up to where they normally are. Deflated Dolphin is back. That was really the big hit they had last year in terms of not having him on the team, but he's back once again. He is a player that probably does not need that much introduction. He's been around this rank range forever and has remained one of the most consistently good players in the scene. Every single other person that is not Dolphin on this team is a new player for the year. But don't let that fool you. They are all very prevalent tournament players and are all very recognizable names to most people in the community. Birchman, of course, I think is the big name here, one of the most notable additions to any roster. He started playing tournaments around like the end of last 5WC, I think, and he's already become like a very, very strong super player. He has played a vital role on multiple different teams across tournaments like the 5-digit Draft Cup, Quarterly Cup 3, just recently Mega Cup. He popped off in. People are already calling him one of the best 5 digits outright. So this will be a great opportunity for him to show everyone what he's capable of doing. Lexic, another player that's important to highlight for me. He's been a long-time tournament player and really should have been on this Canada team multiple times before, but he's finally made it on. He's going to be able to provide a lot of mod skill for Canada for sure. I think this team is in contention with 2019 Canada for their best tournament or their best team in any tournament, and I have a lot of high hopes for them. I have them at a pretty solid 5th at the moment.
I actually have them higher than 5th. Like Dolphin is really good, Birchman is really good, Lexic is really good. Then you have like Fluffy Echo, who's a good specialist. Speed of Snail is a good specialist. I can see them getting 4th. I would not be surprised. Or even 3rd, if they do really well.
Yeah, I can see them going pretty high. I mean, a lot of the teams in like the 3, 4, 5, 6 range are just so unbelievably good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're speaking at the same time again.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Canada has always been a powerhouse in the scene in every year, pretty much. I currently have them at 9th to 12th, simply because I haven't seen a few of these players. I don't know what they can do, but from hearing you guys, how you're bigging them all up, and the names that I did not know much about, I'm probably going to push them up to 9th to 12th, 9th to 7th, 7th to 9th here. Yeah, I'm excited to see them all. Upset to see my man Big Mig not in the roster, but you know, he lives on in my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Tesker here. I have them 7th to 8th or 7th to 9th. I think something that they lacked last year, they definitely got super unfortunate in the bracket, going against Vietnam, and I think it was the UK. And I mean,
It was Brazil, was it not? Brazil in the UK.
oh, sorry, Brazil.
UK,
My
yes.
apologies. It was Brazil. It's super unfortunate. I think something that they did lack last year is they didn't getting Dolphin back is like something underrated. You have a veteran for Canada, probably the biggest veteran in Canada, and Deflated Dolphin has played for so long and so many tournaments. Getting him back, just his brain being on the team, I think just helps morale. I definitely think that they're going to get a better spot than last year. And then you just look at the rest of the team: Deflated Dolphin, Birchman, Jolly Ranchers, Lexic. You just see all these players, and you see all these players consistently getting top semifinals, finals, even grand finals. Some of these, I think Birchman just won like a tournament like yesterday. And there's no doubt in my players that even 7th to 8th, I think, is, putting it a little low. But this team can definitely make a finals push for sure.
I'm keeping
Yeah.
it 4th. I really do think.
It's not often that you see these like full roster replacements and you go, okay, they're really good, but this new Canada team is just absolutely amazing. I personally have them at a 5 to 6. I think they have the ability to just push it the full mile if they really try hard. I'm really excited to see how this new Canada team does.
Yeah. We'll throw them 5, 6. I think that's the average of what we have here, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We're going to move on, try to speed up a little bit here to Team Chile, roster of Kaze, I think is how you pronounce that. Misaka Mikoto, formerly known as Dekamori 3, Cherno, DPL, Akemi, Nevs, Sifs, and Swanembo. With only 24 minutes to spare until the team submission deadline closed, Chile barely squeaks their roster in on time to play the tournament. Of course, they won the tournament outright in 2021 with that really obscenely good squad of Suntan, Chalkgamer, and Dai. Looking to see if they could reclaim a glimpse of their former glory. They have not made it past 13th in any other 5WC, but we'll see if they can make it work this year. Misaka Mikoto, of course, one of the members of that winning team, and I believe the only one still standing on this team. Being joined now by very good players all around, such as Akemi and Cherno. Out of all these players, though, I really want to highlight Sifs. He started grinding tournaments in the middle of last year, and he's already gotten to the point where he's putting up incredibly solid scores against some incredibly solid players. If there's any player to look out for on this year's roster, I think it is him. They did lose Vicky. Wonder what happened there. So getting back to 13th might be a little bit of an uphill climb, but definitely a doable climb for them. If I'm putting money on it, I have them at 17th for the time being.
I'm putting them at 25th personally. I'm not completely sure on this roster quite yet. Things can change, but you know they do lose 5 of their old players, and that's kind of hard to go off of. Just for referencing, like, okay, well, here was last year's result where they did pretty good, but I mean, losing players, I don't know. So I'm personally putting him at 25 for the time being.
Yeah, that's something that is really hard to sort of visualize in your head, is how a new roster is going to do. Especially, I mean, like you said, Chile won it outright 2 years ago, but in every other iteration has failed to break past 13th, and I'm pretty sure they had a new roster almost every time, right? So it's sort of like how are they going to do? Who knows? Personally, I do have them 25th to 32nd at the moment. I can see everyone's upset that Okape's no longer in the squad. Like he was a fan favorite. But yeah, it just depends how they gel together, how their playstyles fit, whether they have the depth to sort of push it. At the moment, we don't know. That's the main thing.
Yeah, we don't really know.
Yeah, I have them 25th to 32nd as well. Losing Okape and Shadow of the Dark are, I think, just too big a hits to push past that threshold. But it does look like they're in a rebuilding phase, so it does look like maybe in the next few years we'll potentially see them reclaim their throne.
I do think they're gonna win the match though, with like Cherno and Misaka
I think so.
Mikoto and Sifs. I do think they're gonna win the match.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. Shout out to Shadow of Dark as well for making us turn the font size down on this entire stream. We'll throw them in. Well, I guess the average here is 25-32. Sure thing. We'll throw them there for
Alright.
the time being. Move on. I think we're going to have a lot of teams in 25-32 at this rate, but we'll rearrange things at the end. We'll move on now to China. CRZXZ1Z1Z. What a wonderful username. Azurius, Hermit, GXYTC, Worthless Player, DN Wings, Eiko Tokra, and Michika. I don't know if that's supposed to be Dawn Wings or not, but whatever. China's been historically decently consistent. They have not failed to make top 12 yet, but they haven't made a run past 5th place either. They have a very nicely rounded roster this year, not too strong or weak in any direction. GXYTC back for 5WC number 4, Michika and DN Wings back for the 3rd as well. Very decently known players in that group right there. Especially GXYTC, he has been around forever and he's always put up fantastic performances. He's going to be the highlight player here. Although I do also want to highlight Worthless Player. He doesn't have as much tournament experience, but he's a very fantastic hidden player and a player who looks very capable of pushing the team's skill cap a little bit up from what I've seen this year. Of course, I think they did have a massive hit in losing JJ. He's a complete SCP of a player. He has ranked much further out of this rank range. He's just way too good. I am a little worried about their ability to hang in the mid-rounds against some of these other teams losing a player like that. So I do have them at 17th personally, but they are another team that's very easily capable of pushing back that, and I think it very heavily depends on their bracket.
I would like to note that GXYT has joined also at like 2011, which is that's one of the more older players in this tournament, I'd say. There are not many other players who joined this early.
Player, yeah.
Also, Azurius making the A team for the first time back in like 2 years. That's nice to see. But yeah, losing JJ is very bad for them. I think they would do slightly worse than last year.
Yeah, I have that same thing as well. Every single year they've gotten top 10. 2019 is 9th, 2020 is 5th, 2021 is 7th, 2022 is 9th. They haven't dropped below the 10th threshold yet. Unfortunately, I do think this is the actual year that they do unfortunately drop below 10th. I have them 13th, 16th. I think they're definitely a very good squad of gamers. Unfortunately, not only losing JJ, but I think like in terms of like other teams, I think other teams just got much better than China did, unfortunately. I think that they've kind of been a little bit similar, gotten a bit better, and then you just see like the explosiveness of like other teams such as like Australia, and then some other teams that we haven't gotten to yet. So yeah, I think I just kind of hard.
I'm going to switch this back around and say I think they can still hang with their previous performances. They've always been an extremely strong squad, always been a squad that you fear to go against. I currently have them 7th to 9th.
Oh,
I think
interesting.
breaking into the top might be a little difficult for them, but still, they've still got a very, very good squad of players.
I
And
respect it.
again, and you know, they always seem to find people that can gel together, right? And I have full confidence that they've done it this year as well.
Fair enough. We'll throw them.
Alright.
We'll throw them. I think averaging, I guess, 13-16 for now.
Yeah, 13-16.
And we'll move to Colombia, our next team. Full roster of Ale, Fell, Sewer Slut, Gold, Elmic 25, Jonex, X Salcedo, and Pinwee. Ale is back for his 4th year
Losing
captaining in
Carlos
a row.
Flo. Losing
Yeah.
Carlos Flo.
Ale, my
Ale and
beloved.
Fell are back, but you do have to kind of talk about Carlos Flo. They did
Losing
lose Elmic
Carlos
33 as
Flo.
well, who was the original Elmic, as far as I am aware. But losing Carlos Flo is a massive hit. He was their best player for a very long time. He was one of the best players in the rank range for a very long time. He was just super strong, and it's no surprise really that he's ranked out now. Unfortunately, even with him, they only managed to get 36 in qualifiers last year, so I think their chances are a little low.
Yeah.
We'll see what they can do, but without Carlos, I'm not super confident.
They didn't manage to qualify with Carlos. So without him, he was like this main carry who could play everything. And they still didn't manage to qualify. So I doubt they can qualify, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm with
Who knows?
everyone on this one. Losing Carlos, the year after, that's just kind of hard to recover from. You got gold back, which is pretty nice, but I mean, you just got shot in the chest by losing Carlos, unfortunately. So maybe next year.
Yeah, Carlos. A loss of Carlos is huge for the Colombian side. The player apparently set a 602 hours ago. He was playing 5WC last year. What is he doing?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's got a shout out, Ale, my beloved.
Yes.
I do love this roster. I've always been a fan of Colombia, but yeah, I don't see them doing it this year. I do apologize. Losing Carlos is just an insanely large hit.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll put him DNQ. Good luck to them though. I'm a very big Ale fan as well, so I hope to
I
see
do.
them do well.
My boy.
We'll move to the Czech Republic roster of Jajamaru, the Doja, Aishu, Jorida, DejW27, Emthea, Holub, and Parno Abuser, who was previously known as Petri or Navad. Jajamaru is back another year to try to bring the Czech Republic up to stuff once again. They did qualify in 2019 and have not managed to repeat that since, but having him back on the team, I think personally, is absolutely going to make the difference. He is a well-established super player at this point, and one I don't think that needs that much introduction. If you
They
think
do lose Shutterstock, though.
Yeah.
they did lose Shutterstock, that is the big thing for
That
them.
is, I don't know, it's pretty big.
I think that they have they have a good enough backing of like the Doja and Joreda alongside Jajamaru that I personally think they will qualify. But I could see it going either way. Obviously, if they did have Shutterstock, I think it would be a lot easier of a call, but we'll have to see where they go. But Jajamaru coming back is very big for them at the very least.
Yeah, we always love to see big returns with players like that. The ones that can make the difference. Personally, I don't really think it'll be enough this year. I'd love it to be enough, but just looking at their previous records, they haven't really gotten that close to qualifying. And one man is, at the end of the day, one man. They can't carry the entire tournament on their own. So I have them in DNQ at the minute, but yeah, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on how this team does with its
I
with
think they're
a
little
star
better
sort
than
of player
one
that
man.
returning. Yeah, they are a little better than one man, but looking at previous, like not getting too close to qualifying, it's a completely different story if they get 33rd, 34th, but they haven't been quite that close. I think they can push it, but
I think I'm with you on this one. Last year, you got 44th. They got Guatemala back, but like I said, losing Shutterstock, and that other than that, they have their main pieces for the most part. They only really had a handful of swaps, and I don't think like those swaps will be enough to make up 11 qualifier placements. I think that's just kind of being a little bit optimistic. I do enjoy watching this team play. They're a very interesting bunch. I hope that I'm proved wrong because I would love to see this team in the bracket.
Yep. Let's see how they do. We do average to 25-32 yet again. I think I'm starting to see a trend.
Yep.
But we will move on for the time being.
Yep.
I'm going to have 30 teams in 25-32 by the end of this.
Yeah.
Basically have to do the stream all over again.
Yeah. We're going to move to Denmark. Roster of Mendez, formerly known as Lamy 1, Sitasnaf, Razrat, Far, the
Denmark.
Duck, Big Peepee Joe, Panda Gwindike, and Jukas. Very interesting roster here for Denmark, losing out on Uto 1 because they ranked up too hard, and losing out on Deaver for varying reasons. But still managing to keep that core of Lamy and Sitasnaf that has been good for them for the recent years. Lamy having been able to cement himself as a super player for sure over the last year and a half, has gone a long way for the team, and I think it's going to continue to at least go the distance. Maybe not 17th again, but these two players in particular, him and Sitasnaf, are very strong, and I think they'll definitely be able to perform on this qualifier pool enough to get them in. I know Razred as well. He's pretty much only played 5WC in terms of tournaments, but he's had some pretty decent contributions to the team over the year. They do have a couple newer players as well. I think this is Panda Gwindike's first tournament, outright ever, actually. I know he's on Denmark's minor league last team, but he didn't qualify, so I don't know if that counts. I think this team's pretty solid, not super outstanding, but definitely able to make some moves if a team comes at them unprepared. I have them 25th for now.
All right, yeah. I do see them winning a match, and that's pretty much the only reason I'm putting it in 17-24. I think it's very realistic. They could win a match. So I'm being a bit optimistic here, but yeah, that's allowed sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
they at the very least qualify. I'm not sure about winning a match quite yet, but I am hopeful for this Denmark roster, and I do think they can absolutely qualify. And so I am personally putting them at 25th to 32nd.
Yeah, I think I'm with Coney here with them winning a match. So I do think they at least have the they have the power to win a match, of course, depending on bracket placement and whatnot. But yeah, it's again a team that I'm not too familiar with, personally at least. But just from a little peruse, I do think they can at least get to top 24.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely have them qualifying. I think losing Dever and Uto is a pretty big hit. Like, it's kind of hard to recover from that. That being said, I don't have any questions that they're going to qualify. I think, those remaining four that remained are definitely solid enough to make it through. I can see them winning a match, but I wouldn't bet on it. If they would win a match, it would definitely be in the round of 16 losers bracket.
What a banger that's playing right now.
Oh, I love Tail Element.
All right.
All right.
We'll throw the 25-32
Yeah.
again.
Let's move
Sure.
on.
We're gonna move onwards from that. I swear okay. Well, we'll get there when we get there. Estonia now.
Estonia.
The roster of Mega Hello, a different Lamy, not the same one. Spray, Kaimo Ken, Romy, Danico, Randver, and Howling Bolt. This is a pretty big reset year for Estonia. Mega Hello now taking up the captainship in his first 5WC. I'm surprised he wasn't in any of the previous ones. I feel like I see him around a lot, but maybe that's more for the tournament hosting end of things. There's not too much I have to say about Estonia other than they lost Inari and they lost Pra, who were their two best players by a pretty large margin. Inari, especially not having on the team anymore, is very unfortunate for them, who weren't qualifying to begin with. I just don't see it happening, really.
They had a better team last year and they didn't manage to qualify. So it's a KQ for me.
Yeah, it's a quick one here. Yeah, I think the loss of Inari and Pro is just a little bit too much. They'll get close, but no, I don't think so this year.
I think I honestly, like we're all saying, losing and Ari probably their two best players, I think they do actually get a worse seeding this year than last year, unfortunately.
Yeah. We'll have to see what ends up with them. They were 37th last year. We'll see if they can at least match it. But we'll move on pretty quickly from that. To Finland. Roster of Musa, formerly known as Musa Isa. Probably didn't pronounce that right, but whatever. CPU Cartel, Mara, aka Shotbun, if you know him from a couple years ago. Vaisky KP, Cardium, Jerez, Siren, and Stifu. 25th last year, but I think they got a pretty good roster this time around. I would go out on a limb and say that this is their best roster to date. CPU Cartel, of course, not a player who needs a lot of introduction. He's Finland's resident super player, and he's back for a 4th year in a row. Musa coming back alongside him, taking up captainship this time. Another very good player historically is going to be pretty big for them. There's a couple of new bloods here, most notably, I think, being Mara. He's been around for a very long time. I remember seeing him all the way back as Shotbun in Ale's Epic Low Star tournament. Shout out to Ale again. He's not someone who normally shows up in tournaments, but when he does show up, he normally puts on a pretty good performance, and he's finally here to play 5WC. And I think most notably of all, Cardium is back yet again. He just seems to play every odd year 5WC, but he was a very notable member for both of their 17th place runs in 2019 and 2021. All of them coming together to form this one team, and that's not even talking about their backing players who are all very solid as well. I think this is a very good Finland roster, and I think they have the potential to make a few upsets. Still an uphill battle. I have them at 17th for now, but I could see them going further with a good bracket.
17th. I have them a lot higher. I have them 7th. I think there's a really strong roster. CPU Cartel is actually gotten so good at the game. I'd say one of the best players in the tournament. And Cardium coming back, who I think I remember performing super well when he played. So, yeah, I go 7.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Bento with the 17th to 24th. They do have a very strong roster in comparison to previous years. The upset potential is there, but they're called upsets for a reason. They're not particularly in favor in those types of matchups. They could be. They very well could be, but at the moment I do have them 17th to 24th as well.
Yeah, what happened to them last year was so
I
tragic.
did forget that they qualified 4th place.
They qualified 4th and then did nothing with it pretty much.
They
That's
went
so
0-2.
tragic.
Well,
Yeah.
that'll happen sometimes in this tournament.
I wonder what happened to the 19th seed.
Yeah, I wanted to put them 13th at first, but honestly, with the level of competition in this tournament, I reconsidered it, and I am also personally placing them 17th to 24th.
All right.
I have them. I got a little bit different from everyone here. I actually have them 13th to 16th. I think it's. I think that this. I don't remember who said it, but I think it is one of their better teams. I'm honestly surprised that Shotbun did actually not make A team last year. That was pretty crazy to me.
Yeah.
Shotbun. I remember watching one of the minor league matches. They FC'd like the tiebreaker, and wasn't even close. And it was a hard tiebreaker. And then that's not even like the best player they have on their team. They're getting Cardium back. They're getting CPU. Cartel is still there. Unfortunately, they're losing Death Grips. I kind of wanted to see him play. Unfortunately, but I actually really, and this is one of my favorite teams to watch play. They definitely had a very unfortunate circumstance last year. I would have to assume that had to be something internal.
Yeah, those. I don't know. That's so unlucky for them.
I don't have them any higher because I do think that the skill cap issue definitely will come into play. But I don't have any debates whether they'll definitely win a match or two.
We'll have to see. I think if they can get to that mid-round, they might start taking even more matches than people give them credit for. Because this is one of those teams where if they can just break through with a good bracket, they can really go the distance, I think. So we'll average them out to 13 through 16 here.
I'm not changing my vote. I really do think they can win a lot of matches.
Yeah, we'll see if they do. I believe they could go pretty far. But if we're going to talk about going pretty far, our next country here... La France.
So many changes. Wow.
Rixarda, Afman, Dracos, Biotic, Nuage. That's Jacko. I'm just going to call him Jacko. Qmania and MyJD, do not let the reset fool you. This is a team
Thank
that
you.
is incredibly
Thank you.
strong. Yeah, for sure. They qualified top 2 every single year from 2019 all the way down through 2021. Dropped down to 10th out of qualifiers last year, but still ran the tournament back to 7th place. They did lose a lot of players. Jichu is gone. Emizus is gone. Forwin and Gij are gone. And you want to know what I think despite this? I think they are going to win the tournament. And here is why.
Yeah.
There are 4 players in this tournament across all of these teams that are head and shoulders, in my opinion, above everyone else. 4 people who absolutely do not belong in this rank range, who are so unbelievably good that they strike immediate fear in the hearts of any who dare come across them. And we have encountered our first of these 4 players here in MyJD. He regularly sets plays in tournament lobbies that most other players in this tournament cannot even begin to fathom achieving in solo. He has grinded so much multiplayer in the past 8 months, nearly 250 separate matches since the beginning of July last year, that he's become a genuine Terminator in tournaments. He is capable of playing pretty much anything that comes his way at any SR. His ability and consistency to play these maps at such a high SR rating is what sets him apart from nearly every other mere mortal in this tournament. If you see him on literally any DT pick, genuinely brace yourself. But you don't win a tournament without a team, so let's talk about the rest of their roster a little bit. Dracos is their one returning player from last year, and it's no surprise why he returns. He's been putting up some monster scores in tournaments such as the 5-digit Draft Cup and the minor bracket of Old Map Fantasy, actually, over the last year. He has been cementing himself as a very solid super player as well for this team. Biotic, Nuage, Draco, and the captain Drixarda are all coming in as well as very seasoned tournament players at this point. I have seen them all over the place the last year as well, all players who can genuinely scale with this tournament as far as they need to go. Afmon is another massive tournament grinder who should be able to provide some very nice back-end support. And I think what really pushes them up to first as well is the last highlight here I want to make, which is Qmania. What makes him special is he follows in a very small group of players who are terrifying in any tournament, and those are players with a 100% profile accuracy. He has only SSs in his top plays. He has 50 Haramuchi Clover SSs pinned to his profile. He scares me. And the thing about these players is that since they can't rank up from anything that isn't an SS, they naturally, their rank ends up being a lot lower than he would be. And Qmania has shown himself that he is really capable of playing things far out of the rank range that he really is in right now. He has been steamrolling through many good players and teams recently, and I think right now is his time to truly show what he's capable of. Qmania and MyJD may be one of the best duos of players just off of raw skill in the entire tournament. If any team were somehow to beat this duo, they would have to be like out the 96 bulls of 5-digit Osu players. Remember I said that. So as long as France can make it past round of 16 in winner's side this time, I think they are actually the favorites to take home the gold this year, from my personal opinion.
Yeah, there is nothing more I can say than what Bento said. You look at the players they lost Juchu, they lost Forwin, they lost Gij. But I think you have to realize Forwin and Gij didn't actually make the team. They tried out and they just didn't make the team. That's how good this France roster is, that those players that are really dominant did not make the team. Not a hero enjoyer. Bunch of the memes. He won the Upranking Awards last year. I don't know who won it this year. I'll have to do some research, but this team is the best team in France history, and I don't think it's close. I think this could potentially be the best 5WC team in history. I don't really see them even losing a match. I just see them making it to finals. I don't see a bracket reset. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. There's one more team that I think could take first, but I think this team is just so disgustingly good that they're just going to blow every other team out of the water.
Imagine this team if they did have Jichu on it. That would be.
They would just not lose the match.
Definitely.
Yeah, I completely agree. This France roster is insane. It's I don't know what they're putting in the water over there, but it's got to be yeah, there's really nothing else to say other than first, really. I'll put my hands up. Bento went on that rant. There's nothing more that you can say.
Yeah, everything that needs to be said has been said. France is, I think, clearly the favorite to take the win on this 5WC. Clearly the one that most people will think, hey, this is a first place team.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
definitely,
pretty
100%.
almost an agreement there. Throw them
Alright.
up.
Yeah.
The first place
I'm
team.
not putting them up first because I think there's one team that is better. That's pretty
I
much the
think
reason.
there's a team that could very, very closely
Yes.
contend them. I think it
Yeah.
actually will be a
100%.
hard-fought grand finals. We'll get to them later. But from one first place team to another first place team, moving on, I believe, to Germany, the winners of last year's tournament, with the roster of Naira, TPLC, Poland Trucker 13, Benkitiro, Jaden, Blunder, Dennis, Bowden, and Jobhob. I actually don't know how to pronounce that. That's almost certainly wrong. Fun fact, Poland Trucker 13 actually trucked all the way to Germany just to play this tournament. That's real. That's why
This
he's
is
named that.
such a downgrade.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really... They lost KSN, Poke, Kriz, Tatse. That's
Oh my
too big
god.
for them to be able to fully surmount it. Those players are genuinely just top class. KSN was the best player bar none in the tournament last year. There's just no replacements for players like that. They do keep some okay players. They have some good returning players as well. TPLC and Job Hope are coming back after not having played last year. I think they're going to be two big additions to the team. Both of them are pretty seasoned tournament veterans who have been wreaking havoc across the scene for a long time now. And I'd imagine they're both as ready to play as good of a game as they can. Naira as well, the captain of the team, remains here from last year alongside Dennis. Naira is very big for them last year as well. He was able to put up some ridiculous scores on any general tapping map that you give him. I think he's going to be completely fine as well. Do not look at his rank graph, please. Their backing is quite solid as well. Bowden and Jaden are very familiar names to probably most people in the 5-digit scene. Jaden, of course, with his infinite Osu supporter money laundering Ponzi scheme thing he was doing by staying down to 6-digit, actually deciding to rank up for once, which is super cool of him. And I think he actually is going to be able to contribute a little bit to this team. Despite all their losses, it's still a very solid force to be reckoned with, and they're very close in competition for top 8 in my head with two other teams that we'll talk about later. I have them at 9th. I could see them getting top 8, though, pretty cleanly. I think if any team outside of my top 8 is getting top 8, it's them.
Yeah, I agree.
Germany, of course, is such a massive... They've always been a massive team in tournaments like this, but the big roster change, losing, KSN, Poke, you losing all those players, it is a big downgrade from the winning team. Of course, you've still got Bowden, my goat. Why did you change your name back? I'm not happy about that. Personally, I've got them in 7th to 8th as well. Oh, well, not as well. I've got them in 7th to 8th. I do think they can break top 8. But, I'm hesitant to say a far cry from the team that they were, but really when you lose the players that were top flight overall out of all the teams, it's never going to be the same. I have them 7th to 8th, yeah.
Yeah. So I have this team 7th to 8th. I think so. We can we'll take this one at a time. So they lost Chris, they lost Poke, they lost Tots, they lost KSN, they lost Papa Gunge, and you're like, well, any other team that lost people like that would just be done for years to come. And then you look at who they replaced it with. They got Jaden, they got Joe Pope back, they got Bowden, they got TPLC. Those are not bad players by any means. I don't think people realize how good Jaden is because he's been a 6-digit for so long. Jaden legitimately beats 4 digits in tournaments, and that is not a joke. Jaden is not a 50k player. He is a 4-digit. Jopo coming back, very strong. Nira also very good. Blunder Dennis also very good. I think a lot of people think this team is just going to completely fall off, and I just don't think that's the case even a little bit. I don't think that this team is an underdog. I think I think this team is an underdog and they shouldn't be. I think obviously they're not going to be able to get first this year by any means, considering how much better France got versus how much weaker Germany got. But they definitely get top 10. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, there's it's not saying that these players are bad by any means. It's just the sheer quality that the other players brought.
Yeah,
it's the level
there's a lot of other
competition
teams that are just really obscenely good. It's really a coin flip between two teams in my head. I could literally put Germany 7-8 and be like, yeah, that's totally normal. I feel wrong putting them 9-12 on my own list, and probably in hindsight, I'm gonna feel like a moron. I'll explain the other team, I guess, when we get there, but I guess everyone else is in agreement on 7-8, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we can put them there. Move on. Our next team is Greece, I believe, right? Yes, okay. Roster of Snap, formerly known as It's Me Doodoo, Kitty Like Me, Knee Cutter, Spoken Away, Teo, Bilbo NP, Aurelia, and TSM L9 Palk of the Hard Rock variety, who's formerly known as Seraphim. Greece enters their first year without Vacay on their team, but they still hold a decent chunk of their roster from last year. Snap and Palk are in for their 4th in a row. Teo Aurelia is Spoken Away back from last year as well. A little bit of new blood from Kitty, Bilbo, and Knee Cutter. Phenomenal username, by the way. That is a great username. While I don't think this team is going to qualify just on account of tournament inexperience from some of the team players, I do think the players who were on the team last year and are still on this year have pretty much all improved pretty decently. I know Snap has been doing a very solid amount of grinding, probably explains why he's the team captain. I don't think they fully have the experience required. I have seen Aurelia in something. I forget what I've seen her in. I think it might have been HKC, but it's a name I recognize at the very least. I think they have a lot stronger of a shot at qualifying than a lot of teams give them credit for, and I think they're absolutely going to improve their 52nd from last year by a pretty sizable margin, but I don't have them getting there.
They're going to do better than last year, guaranteed, but I don't see them qualifying still.
Yep, with Coney on this one.
I'd really like to believe they'll make it, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely been hard for Greece, but I don't really see the situation improving here, at least not enough to qualify, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think they get close, though. I think they'll make it.
Yeah.
Tesco, you're muted.
Am I mute?
Yes. Yeah, you can. The pop filter, I think.
Is this?
Yeah, is it the pop filter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hang on, let me see. Is this any better? Is this all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she
Okay.
gets all
Where
my
did you
back.
get that filter?
Wait, what filter? The white one? No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
been black the entire time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Can you show it again?
Wait, this. Oh, you mean this one?
Yeah, the white. Yeah.
Oh,
Where
this.
did you get
Yeah.
that?
It's like it was a bit dirty. I changed it out.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
We're-
fuck's
I
sake.
think we're in agreement.
I'm so glad I've taken that off my
Nice.
desk now. It's been in the way the entire time.
I think
Yeah,
we
I'm in agreement as well with them
Yeah,
being
yeah.
DNQ.
can throw the DQ and move on.
Let's
Uh,
move on.
We're gonna bowl right into our next team here.
Okay.
Guatemala
go.
makes their debut
Guatemala,
as
let's
well. Again, thank you for getting your roster together to play. Congrats. I hope you have a good tournament. I don't think they're gonna qualify. I mean,
Fumbles.
they have 6 players, and most of them are making their overall like they've never been in any tournament before. I am excited to see some scores from Tishin in particular. I know he's a very surprisingly consistent player and a pretty decent skill cap in multis, despite not being really that much of a tournament player like often. So I'm interested to see what he could do. But 6 players with like not as much experience as the other teams, I don't know really how they're going to be able to qualify. But
Yeah.
I'm happy to be
another
proven
first
wrong.
place. Another first place in my eyes. I can't lie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
take it with.
Yeah, it's yeah. Well, 6 players is always a massive deficit. It's like in a tournament like a 4v4 tournament, you need the sort of depth that 8 players bring.
Yeah.
And a lot of these players, of course, being first-time players, first-time team as well. It's a lot like Bolivia. It's I can't see them qualifying, but again, I'm glad to be proven wrong. I can't wait to see 6 Delta Zeros in his prime. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
Surely.
throw
Surely.
DQ for now.
Yeah. Let's move on. I think.
But
Yeah.
good luck to them in the tournament, of course. Movie 2, Hong Kong. Dragbit 5, Pandora, U2, Tsukime, Remisq 07, Waya, Lulix me. I'm really not even going to try to pronounce that other one. Dragbit 5, returning to the captain's wheel for Hong Kong, a team that had a very respectable 17th place run last year. The worst they lost any match in 2022 was against Australia, where they were 1 point away from tiebreaker. They had a very good run overall. They're keeping a lot of players who I think are going to be very important to them. Pandora, Tsukime, and Waya are all very phenomenal players that have been around for a long time, and I think they've gotten some pretty good new players as well. I think the 2 players I want to highlight that are new are Remisq and U2. Both players dominated their tryouts to get on this team. They both really made their tournament debuts around when 5WC was happening. Like that's when they really started playing, and they just have not stopped since. Adding them onto this roster is going to be very big for Hong Kong overall. Having players who can play multiple different things at a very high level is great. And I think it's going to go a pretty long way for them. I do have them at 17th again, which again I feel like is like wrong-ish, but I think is literally bracket dependent, and I think if they get a good bracket, I can see them getting like 9-12 pretty easily.
Yeah, I have them 9-12 for that exact reason, is that they can get there on good bracket. I don't see many bad brackets for them, really. Of course, they could have a bad bracket and completely bomb out, but I think 9-12 is around about where they sit for me. The quality of players, of course, being up there, as usual. With Hong Kong, they've always had a sort of strong roster in my eyes. I think that's where they sit for me quite comfortably.
Yeah, I had them 17th to 24th with Bento, and I was just thinking about it. I was looking at the players. They lost Rubikson, they lost Newitt, unfortunately, but Pandora has been absolutely dragging this whole year.
Oh yeah,
Dragged it
Pandora has
by...
improved so much.
That is, I think, in terms of the most improved player, like, I think Pandora might be one of the best in terms of improvement. You know, very strong team. Like I said, I had him 17th to 24th, and then I kind of looked at it and I was like, yeah, that just doesn't feel right. So I moved him up a spot. Yeah, I can see this team going farther than this, but I think this is just where I'm going to keep him.
yeah, pretty fair.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, I'll see them. I hope I see them in 9-12 personally, but I'll throw them 13-16 for now. We'll move on to Hungary. The roster of Felix, Burhack, Raven Waffles, Rise or Rise, Tiba123, Roland, Stalkerhun, and Samaraj Plant. I did
got
not
it.
pronounce that right.
Yeah.
I tried.
Good
I
enough.
tried. They make their
Um,
debut as well. Round of applause. Congrats on getting a team. There are actually a couple like decently notable players on this roster. I think most notably Raven Waffles. Wasn't super active in tournaments until semi-recently, but I've seen him in stuff like BRF, and he's been performing pretty solidly. I think he's definitely their standout player. I don't think having one standout player lets you qualify, unfortunately, but I am very happy to see him this year, and honestly, I think he could pull them pretty high, a lot higher than people will probably give him
I
credit for.
know Hungary has a very active like 4-digit tournament scene. I've seen a lot of Hungarian 4 digits in tournaments, but in terms of 5 digits, none of these players really stand out that much. So I'm going DNQ.
Yeah, I'm with Cody on this one. I've seen the name Raven Waffles. I don't know. I've just seen them, so I don't know what they play or how good they are. But these other 7 players, unfortunately, I've just never seen any of them before, so I don't know how to like put them, higher. Unfortunately, so
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat for this one. You know,
Yeah.
it's sort of like a
Yep.
It's a year for
one
them to get
notable
their
player.
footing
Yeah,
in the tournament.
sort of see like where they stand in comparison to others and improve on that basis.
Yeah.
And come back in 2024.
Yep.
Sort of that type of beat.
Best of luck to them. We'll move to
course.
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Roster of Fnair, Akebono, Zysite, Kozakura, SDK, Rito, Flowburn, and I'm a Cute Bunny, who's formerly known as Jody. A pretty normally solidly consistent mid-bracket team. Fnair's back for his 4th 5WC and their 2nd time as a captain. Zysite and SDK are returning from previous years as well. Kozakura, Rito, and Flowburn joining for the first time. I know Kozakura and Flowburn aren't as frequent of tournament participants as some of the other names you see here, but they're definitely able to perform when they need to. Rito's a very solid sort of all-rounder player who I think is going to help fill their backlines a lot, which is a very important, underrated slot on any given team. I know Akebono and Bunny will be very good additions to the team, and they're the 2 players I'm looking out for the most on this roster. Obviously, if you go look at their profiles, they both do have like reasonably recent badges, but I think it's pretty clear how they got these badges, since they're both just have really solid scaling and really solid overall ability to perform on most of anything. It'll be very nice to see if they can get into that later stage of the bracket or even the mid-rounds of the bracket with how high the SR is here. I think they're going to pop off. I know Akebono on the DTs especially can be a very solid force to be reckoned with, especially with players like Zysite and SDK also on this team. That is a very dangerous mix of players to go against. They are notably missing Hudimint and Misaki Rhythm from last year, Hudimint having been on the roster every year since 2020, and Misaki Rhythm just being one of their key players from last year's run, one of the better players in the
Yunan
tournament.
is also a really good player, so losing them is also pretty big.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. I didn't even see him. Wow. So the overall roster is still very strong, I would say. I know Fnair's in good shape because he almost 6-0'd me at OAT. I was very scared. This is one of the rosters. I feel like my gut feeling is wrong. I have them 9-13, which isn't a place you can get. But I had them in my notes as 13, but I actually honestly think they're getting 9-12. I think I'm gonna have more people in 9-12 than I'm supposed to, but whatever. Is
Yeah, it's
that
whatever.
actually
Just when we
supposed to be
rearrange at the end.
Ryan F? God damn. That's crazy. That's
And we also
worldview changing.
we can't
You know
forget No
what?
Cuddy as well. No Cuddy is
Oh,
also
yeah.
a big hit for Indonesia.
Yeah, they've had a couple hits, but I think the players they're replacing them with are still decent.
Yeah, they're still up there. It's like personally, I have them at 13th to 16th, because even though they have lost quite a few players, they still have a very good quality of team and good sort of reach around the mods and things like that. So yeah, I think they can get decently far, win a couple matches. You know, I'm excited to see where they go this year.
Yeah, I have them 9th to 12th with Bento. I think they lost Honeyman, they lost Kudi, they lost Misaki. I think the improvement that this team showed makes up for that, not including the people they replaced him with. I think this team's got something to prove. I think that this is actually an underdog team. I think this team could honestly do better than 9th to 12th, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Cool. I think
Well, I feel a little awkward because I put them 13th to 16th, and I'm not feeling a lot of agreement from that.
I mean,
you got me, brother.
I could see it either way. It's really like a coin flip on my end between whether they get 9th or 13th. It is again very bracket dependent. As
Oh, a
most of these
coin flip,
teams
you
are.
say?
Oh, no.
Well,
Yeah, we got a few here. We got a few. Let's do a few coin
wait,
flips.
I messed up the flip. Looks at 9th to 12th to me. Sorry about
All right.
that.
No, I've been
Oh,
left
run it.
alone. No.
The handy coin of
the way of the world.
prophecy has allowed us to put them 9-12.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's put them in 9-12. That seems
Yeah,
good.
9-12. 9-12. I can agree with that.
All
All right. Let's
We'll
move
move on then to Ireland.
Ireland.
AST Bed, Heavenly Moon, Kaiwen, Yesent Mesent, Wenjoke, Oberon, Shattered, and Ruby. A pretty big reset overall for Ireland, as was last year as well. And I think this time they have a pretty bad loss in not having Posharto on their team anymore.
Yep.
KST Bad, of course, has played every year for Ireland this far and is one of their star players. I think Heavenly Moon is also going to be a very good player this year. He's a well-known Taiko mapper and player, but he has ranked some standard maps as well, and I will never underestimate how far mappers buff can go ever. There is some inexperience on this team for backing members, and as such, I don't think they have the historical ability to perform in tournament to qualify. But I do think their results will improve very slightly, at least with having Heavenly One on the team. Although I don't know how they will do without Posharto, but we will have to find out.
You know, as a mapper, I was trying to figure out where I recognize the name Heavenly Moon, and it all clicks now. I get it.
Yeah. That is another good username, by the way. Amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
True.
I think the username buff in general. Username buff, mapper buff. Heavenly Moon is just the best player of all time at this rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to agree with the DNQ on this, though.
Yep.
You know,
Unfortunately.
historically, haven't really qualified, and with a reset as big as this, again, it's hard to rank teams that have had such big resets, especially with players that you're unfamiliar with, because at that point it's just you're just covering your eyes and throwing a dart. That's how I felt with Ireland, but yeah, looking at historical performances, I think they're most likely going to follow suit.
Yeah, they've been trying every year, but never seem to manage to qualify. It's very unfortunate, and I don't think it will change this year, sadly.
Yeah.
So, all right.
We'll see what they can do.
Can we talk about the rest of the names? How raw they are as well. You got Heaven and the Moon, 100 Gex.
When
Like,
joke.
what's going on? When joke?
100 Gex is
When
no
joke.
longer here. 100
I
Gex
really
is
like
over.
when joke.
100 Gex
They
is no
left.
longer here, but like in general, just Irish names.
They
What
went on
are they
tour.
what are they doing over there? They've got
They do have pretty great names all around. One joke.
Tito.
When joke. There he
You won.
is. I see him in chat. There you are.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on. To Team Israel, for roster of
Israel.
Snowfort, Phoenix, White Pixel, Maxim, Flyco, Kusanali, Gargur 12, and Rexel. They did have a complete reset last year, and they qualified 59th as a result of it. I think they will have to see if they can regain a little more footing this year. They did keep Snowfort and Gargur 12 for actually very deceptively good players if you do not know who they are. They do gain some new decent talent, such as Phoenix and Kusanali, who I think will be able to provide a decent amount of support for them. I do not think they will qualify, but I do think this would normally be an immediate write-off team for a lot of people, and I do think they actually have a lot more of a chance than I think most people would normally give them. I am excited to see how they end up performing with some of these players, but I don't think they have enough.
Argur at 12. That's a
Yes,
crazy
Dogger
name.
at 12.
Alright, yeah, I don't see them qualifying, sadly. They don't
Yeah.
really have that like 1-star player that you kind of need to always qualify.
Yep.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, same. It's DNQ for me. If there was an option for close DNQ, that's what I put them. Because obviously
Oh my
the caliber.
Yeah.
But
Italy.
the like you can
Yeah.
I could just say a close DNQ, but it's still a DNQ nonetheless.
That's life. DNQ with an asterisk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll move on to Italy. Freeway K, I think is how you pronounce that. It might be Freeway, not sure. SQD Nerd, MHH, Duke, Fuiba Fuyu, Dire Cause, Kairichu, and Pikio. Full reset for them, unfortunately, but
Full
the players
reset.
they are coming in aren't terrible by any means. Freeway K, some of you may know him from about a year ago now, is Agato Pardo Sardo. He's been present in plenty of tournaments over the past year or two. He's had a couple very decent showings along the way. Pikio, shout out to Pikio, fresh off of winning, what was it, the six-digit World Cup 2022 2?
Number two,
For
yeah.
whatever
there's
that
two
may
of
be
them, yeah.
worth. He is the best, in my opinion, the best player on that team who wasn't immediately restricted after the tournament ended. He is a lot better than his rank of around 60k would lead you to believe. He's in for this roster as well, unsurprisingly, at least to me. We'll see how he can perform in the harder map pools. It's the same worry I have with the other teams we've been talking about. There are too many players who I don't think, like, they're just straight up having their first ever tournament. They don't have enough experience that I think is normally required to qualify. But this is one of the teams I do think is going to be the closest to qualifying that won't with just how good I know Freeway is. So we will see what they have to do. I do have them DNQ for now, but I can very easily see them getting 25th. That would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, I put them as did not qualify as well. I think you've said everything that needs to be said, but I just need to touch on Fuiba Fuyu being the perfect username. Being right. That's all I need to say. He's just
That's-
correct.
Coming up next, tomorrow, we've got the username tier list.
I have them 25, 32, because I simply think they're better than every team in DNQ at the moment. So,
Dominic, I see
Alright.
you have some interesting thoughts over there.
All right, I might be a little bit biased, being Italian myself. Just a little bit. This team, I think, is one of those teams that, I mean, you look at the people they lost. Pretty unfortunate. They lost Rashiki, they lost Marv, they lost Nyx. They lost a lot of their good players, and then they replaced all 8, which is kind of hard to come back from that. The thing is, Freewake is an absolute monster.
He is.
I lost a 1v1 against Picho. All right.
Is it Pichio?
I think so. I think it's
Okay.
Picho.
Well, I tried.
These players are very good. I definitely think they qualify. I don't think there's any way that they don't qualify unless they super underperform. I think this is just a very good Italian squad. You're in my hearts, gamers. All right, you guys got this.
I also think they're going to qualify, but
I believe it.
first.
Yeah. No, throw them in
Yeah,
25, 32. I can easily see them qualifying.
Yeah.
They'll qualify 100%. So what, his average is out at 9th to 12th?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
We'll move on there. We're definitely gonna have to fix that. I keep looking at that 25, 32, and I see way too many flags, but we'll get there. Moving on to Japan. Scout the Gamer, Kotomori, Stonebroom, Yoshi MK2, Balti, Morimori, EasyDT, and Amano No. They've always been a pretty decent team in 5WC. They've had some very solid long-time players such as Kotomori and EasyDT, who are both now in their 3rd consecutive 5WC. They haven't had that outstanding player always who could bring them to any real bracket wins. Normally they do get 25th. You normally would point to 2021 being their best overall roster with that core duo of Dove Kichi and Makipan being able to give them a lot more power, and that is the only bracket win they've had thus far when they swept Switzerland in losers round 1. I think this is going to be a great year for Japan, and I have a pretty good reason, and that reason's name is Stonebream. He is, in my opinion, in contention for being one of the best players just in the tournament. I think he's a top 10 in the tournament personally. He has had great results in tournaments. As of recently, off the top of my head, he was like, I think 11th in the overall indivs for Mega Cup qualifiers, which is a 6.5 star qualifier map pool and is a 5K tournament with a lot of 5K players in it. He averaged about 500K on that. His team, I think, what did they play yesterday or earlier today? I don't know if they won. But
I think they lost.
Unlucky. He's just phenomenal at pretty much everything, though. He's absolutely going to be a key player for this team and just for the tournament as a whole. Their backing players, let us not forget about them. Kotamori and EZDT, probably two of the more recognizable names on the roster. They're excellent players overall who have a lot of versatility to add to the team. Mori is an excellent tournament hidden player that helped Japan out a lot last year. Yoshi MK2, another phenomenal all-rounder that just has really great tapping and general mechanics. Scout's one of the new bloods coming in for Japan and already has the captain's seat. He has some great scaling on like Nomon DT. Amadon knows another great hidden player. The person I want to highlight outside of Stonebream is Balti. If you guys haven't heard of or seen Balti, he's another one of those players that's newer to the game compared to the rest of the players. I think he joined OSU in like mid-2020, but he has been putting up fantastic scores as of recent. I know him and half of this Japan team entered BRF recently, and I think multiple of their matches have been defined by Balti just running 1v2s on the opponents. This, to me, feels like the perfect mix of longtime Japanese players and the fresher faces who've been popping off in tournaments recently. I don't know how far they will make it. Their highest placement as of now in a tournament, I believe, was 17th. I personally can see them getting 13th or possibly even higher with a good bracket.
Yeah, I misclicked my 25th to 32nd there. Japan is an extremely strong roster this year for all of the reasons listed above. There's Bento going into detail on every point that I thought of.
Stonebream's just too good. I don't know.
Stonebream's too good. Stonebream's
Team
too
on a
good.
Nomad 4.
Stonebream is really good. I don't know. I really don't know with this team.
I personally believe in the Stone Dream. I think 9th to 12th is absolutely doable for Japan, and I'm really excited to see if they can reach that. I think they finally have the team that can make that kind of number.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
the
coin
Stone Dream
flipping
is
9
real.
to 12 between them and Indonesia personally.
Oh, you were what?
Did someone say coin flip?
We're not coin flipping.
Not
We have a
again.
consensus.
No, the bit's dead. Bit's dead.
Throw them in 13 to 16 for now. Again, this is another, if they get a good bracket where they can play into their skills with Stonebream on their team in those mid rounds, I could unironically see them getting an upset for top 8. I could see it.
We talk about the best take that's ever been said in this chat right now. All teams are number one because all the players are cool. I think that's
true.
real. We can wrap
That
it
is
up now,
real.
lads. Thank you for the stream.
Thank you for watching.
All right, I'm heading out. Hold on. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Yeah,
Alright, you guys.
Bye-bye.
I think that averages to 13 to 16. All right, let's go.
I am alone. Alright.
Okay, Kazakhstan didn't qualify and they lose Poisonous and Ravexi.
Yeah, Kazakhstan,
yeah.
I feel so bad for them. The resident 33rd team from last year, barely missing out on bracket stage. They lost Ravexi, he basically quit. Poison is staffing last time I checked. Blombire ranked way the hell up. Nilias is gone too, the resident gimmick player. Karubi and Denbin are still here, but like this is a team explosion if I have ever seen one.
Yep.
If they did not qualify with Poison and Ravexi and Plombire, I don't know how they're going to qualify now. I am happy to be proven wrong, but I do not see it.
Yep.
Yeah, same sentiment shared.
Yeah.
It's always when you see a team explosion, like people just leaving. You know the people who got so close yet so far, and then just it's I'm hesitant to say it's hard to see how they can qualify. Of course, with every team that I say that, I'm glad to be proven wrong. You can clip me saying DNQ, post it all over. I don't. I'm happy for that to happen, but I just, especially with 33rd last year, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
If only they didn't lose their whole team.
If only it was 2022.
I think it's kind of rough getting 33rd seed. Not only is it's just like it like pains you mentally. You were just one step away. Just getting 10,000 more score might have pushed you over the limit, and you just didn't get it. I think that just like it just destroys morale. It doesn't hurt, it destroys morale, and then you could see that is probably why Poison left, Ravaxi left, Plombre left. Like that might be the reason why.
Maybe.
Like it's just unfortunate.
But yeah, we'll throw them down for now. I wish them the best of luck. I think they could maybe qualify, but they've missed so many players. It's unfortunate. Next team here is Kuwait with the roster of Snake, Sola, Bisuke. If we can get Kuwait on screen, Snake, Sola, Bisuke, Pokin, Cafex. Are we waiting on something? That I gotta.
Oh.
That was the wrong
What's
button.
happening? Whoa.
Do not leave us.
Whoa. There we go.
We're in lead now over there. Okay, that's good to know for the future. But yeah, we have Snake, Solo, Bisuke, Pokin, Cafex, Anonymous, and Cybertooth Lion. Kuwait has returned after not playing last year. They have managed to get a roster together, so round of applause to them as well.
Let's go, Kuwait.
Let's go.
Am I pronouncing that right? Bisuke is back. He's definitely Kuwait's star player, at least from my perspective, for as much as he doesn't really play tournaments super often. I think his skill at the game just makes him their best player by default, even still. Snake back as well, of course. Both of them have been with Kuwait since the start. We'll have to see if they can push past that 50th qualifying spot they got from 2021. I don't see them qualifying, but I do think that they've improved a little bit enough to be able to improve their qualifying position.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately not a full 8, so they only got 7. That being said, I think the players, I think they got some better players on top of just improving as a whole, so I think that they'll get a better than 50th, but not better than 32, unfortunately.
Yeah, same sentiment here. It's 50th, probably beat that. Qualifying, probably not. Especially not, like I said, with a full 8. Would love to see them try. Well, they are going to try. I'd love to see them do it. But, yeah, sadly, a DNQ from me.
Yep. All right.
Yep. Good luck to them, though. We will move on to Latvia. Roster of Neko, Megan G, Xiano, Espadodos, Misha, Chicha, Zev, ZS, sorry, Rixu, and Voxar Ginti. Not the right way to pronounce that. Good to see Latvia back again, and Megan and Voxar returning for a third time. They got 50th last year, speaking 50th. We'll have to see if they can improve it this year. Their returning players are looking just as good as they normally do, if not better. They have some pretty good new players as well. Xiano, I believe, I recognize him. I think I saw him on some Mega Cup team. He's putting on some pretty decent scores there, especially for that more or less being his tournament debut, if I remember. Maybe not his tournament debut, but like one of his first tournaments. I think it's hard for them to compete with some of these other teams, but I do not think it is a far-fetched qualifying like ability for them. I don't see them getting it, but I do see them getting close. I think their players have improved enough to where they're going to be able to really push their normal qualifying position up a level.
Yeah, Nekoman and Vox Argenti, or how you pronounce it, they've been playing so many country tournaments for Latvia, and they've never managed to qualify. It's very unfortunate. Who knows? I don't believe it. I don't believe in it, but who knows?
Yeah, this could be the run. Who knows? But like I said, with the caliber of teams this year, if they aren't qualifying in other country tournaments, it's going to be a hell of a battle to qualify in this one.
Yeah, I think that this is a better Latvia team than they've had in past. Neko Megan G has just been around forever. She is a lower ranking 5-digit, like I think 80K-ish, and she's been playing a lot of like 75 plus tournaments. I've seen her a bunch in those. That being said, I'm not too familiar with anybody else on the team. I know Misha is pretty decent. It's just kind of unfortunate that they don't. They're never able to manage to push through. I think they'll get a better seeding. I just think it's hard because they don't have a standout player. All of them are about like the same skill level. and there's like a conflict of some skill sets that they just don't have people in for. So I think that's just the biggest concern that they have.
That's pretty fair. We'll throw them
Mm.
down. The best luck to them. I think, again, this is a team that could get pretty close. I expect a lot of improvement from them. Moving on
Right.
to Lithuania.
Lithuania.
Hatsukei, Nizzy, Dazq, Sunless, Kitty Cat, Brister, Evaldaz, and
Yep,
Bozislavas. This is a near reset for Lithuania, but let me spit for 1 second. We have talked a lot about rosters who have the potential to qualify but are unlikely to do so just to inexperience. I think this roster is the textbook definition of such a roster, but there is a note I want to make. Every team technically has that magic wand that they can wave, where they all play at their potential, they do incredible, and everyone gives them a round of applause, and it's amazing. This team does not have that much tournament experience. Many of their players are making their overall tournament debut in this tournament. However, if Lithuania could, I mean this, I genuinely do, if Lithuania could manage to play at their absolute potential, especially Prister and Hatsukei, I could unironically see them just randomly top 16. I'm not kidding. Prister has like infinite Gunga tapping, and Hatsukei, as few tournaments as they've actually played, is a very good all-rounder from what I have seen them in, and very surprisingly consistent as well. Their backing players are not all like random players. They are able to step up when they need to, so it will really come down to if they can push themselves to perform at that level. Now, I cannot, in good faith, say that they are qualifying. I don't think they're going to qualify over a lot of these experienced teams. But if Lithuania does randomly qualify like 12th, it will be incredibly funny, but also, I told you. I warned you all. That's all.
All right.
Yeah. Carry on, Connie.
No. Yeah. I don't see it, but
I think it's
if it
I
does
think this
happen, I
is-
will applaud you. So
This is the biggest
Number
coin flip
one.
of the tournament. Takani, you're gonna need a bigger coin, man. You're gonna need a
There's
bigger coin.
a universe where they do qualify and do
Maybe
insanely
I-
well, and maybe it's this universe. I don't know.
I hold on to this coin. We'll see. I saved this
see,
for the
we'll see.
future.
Let's see. All right,
all right.
we can
yes.
throw him down for now. Move onwards to Malaysia. Cryolian
Malaysia.
Duo X.
There
Who
it
I
is.
Chocolate.
Oh no, Takani, you ever so slightly can't see it on stream.
Where is Serbia?
Really?
Yeah, it's just cut off.
Oh, it is cut off. Yeah,
Not
Tycani is
anymore.
the Malaysian flag in the corner.
Not anymore. There we
There it
go.
is. This
It's
is
built
a
there.
very, very interesting team to me. I'll get my prediction out of the way first. I think I have them at 9th for now. But I need to add that, in my opinion, this is the most volatile wildcard team in the tournament. They could win the whole thing, and I would not be very surprised. They could fail to... Okay, well, if they failed to qualify, that would be actually pretty crazy. But if they got, like, 17th to 25th, I would also not be very surprised. I mean, a pretty good reason. If you somehow do not know Duo X, you will know him very shortly. And if you are asking yourself how the hell Duo X managed to weasel himself into this tournament's rank range, so am I, brother. I don't know why are you here? Remember earlier when I mentioned the Mega Cup team Stonebream is on? Duo X, again, tournament rank range 5k to 100k. He was the #1 individual performer out of qualifiers by like a decent margin. It was like him and chests, and then there was like a gap. He should not be anywhere near this rank range. If you were to tell me to pick one single player who is the best player in the tournament, this is just my opinion, but I personally cannot pick anyone other than him in good conscience. He is just that guy. But whether he has the backing to contend top 8 is a little up for discussion for me personally. These are very good historical players like Bless and Crunchy and Cryolian, who's actually a Mania World Cup player, but he's also pretty decent at Standard. So he has that tournament experience. I don't know if it's the same thing. These are very good backing players who on a lot of other teams in this tournament would probably be pretty standout players. But you're probably going to see by the end of the stream, the 8 teams that are in the top 8 are just so outstanding that it's hard to properly gauge who would win in such a match. It's really whether, in my opinion, once you get to that range, that Duo X is like whether he will be able to take on multiple players from another team at once. And with how good a lot of the players in this range are, I don't see it happening. I pray to the Lord in heaven that he ranks up soon. But we'll see how they can perform. I have them 9-12 for the time being.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the rankings are explained by not because of the quality of the team itself, but because of the quality of every other team around them. A lot of teams that would normally be placed a lot higher, if you think they go up against this team and that team and the other team, how would it they fare? Nobody knows. So you think it's kind of hard when you get to the top. It's kind of a bit of a squeeze to see who goes where, and that's why Malaysia is so low for me. I've got them 13 to 16. They have an insane roster, but how do they match up against the other, however many insane rosters we're seeing this year?
Yeah, as Bento put it, they are absolutely a wild card team. And I honestly don't really trust wild card teams that hard, which is why I've also put them 13 to 16th. They can absolutely get 9th to 12th, but as it is, I think with the overall strength of teams in this tournament, I don't feel comfortable putting them up there.
That is understandable. They did also have a couple of pretty notable hits, notably Shura, Neko, and Floth. No longer be on the team, Hanami as well. They definitely could have had a lot better players, which would have given them a lot more of a boost. But these players just either are not active or they're a little bit out of range due to the extra BWS that this tournament has.
Yeah, I think.
So we'll see.
So 9 to 12.
Yeah,
That seems
we'll see how they do. Again, it depends on if they get to the part of the tournament where Duo X can start 1v2ing, 1v3ing people, because he's very capable of doing that. Then I think they go far, and it is genuinely whether they can get there or not, and that is a massive wild card. It's 7-sided coin flip.
Indonesia, Malaysia, right next to each other. It's
They
pretty funny
are.
to see.
Yeah, They are indeed. We'll move
Mexico.
on to Mexico. Yep. Kevin M31, Roller, Taco Trash, Chunky Goat Milk. That's a username. Mr. Alpacas, Line, Tony, and Sazul. There isn't a whole lot I can say about this roster. They were 48th last year, not super close to qualifying. Their roster did change a lot, but I do not see any changes that I think would push them all the way up to qualifying. I think they are going to improve their qualifier result for sure. Most notably, I think Kevin M31 is pretty consistent in a lobby setting, but I don't think he's enough to carry the team up to qualifying. They did mention in their team submission that their low AR is a bit unfortunate, but I do think that's the case for a lot of the teams in this tournament, so we'll see what they can manage on that end. Yeah, I don't have them qualifying at the moment.
Yeah,
Yep.
not too much to say. Unfortunately, they lose a bunch of pieces. I don't, in particular, recognize anyone from both leaving and returning. So it's hard for me to rank them. So I think it's just DNQ for me.
Yeah, same here. It's when you can't really think of much to say, it's not really the best omen. Of course, losing 6 players again, not ideal. But we're seeing that's sort of an overarching theme for this year. Quite a lot of people not returning. But with a 48th result, probably see higher than that. Whether we see qualifiers, that's. Gee, I don't see it myself, sadly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with you. I just don't think Mexico has what it takes this year. Though I would love to see it, I don't think it's going to happen this year.
Yep. We'll see how they can do. Best of luck to them. We'll move on now to the Netherlands. OOB, UC2, Celine,
The
XD,
Netherlands.
Chesseat, Unveiled Golem, Nibble, and Just Lucan. Wow! The 96
Wow.
goals of 5-digit OSU players.
Yeah,
Who would have
they are.
possibly guessed? To those who are uninitiated, remember earlier when I was talking about those 4 players who were sitting above everyone else as the Omega best players in the tournament? We've gone through Duo X and Mize. Present on this roster are both of the other 2 that remain. Celine and UC2 are the Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen of OSU players. They have been tag teaming every goddamn tournament this year, and everybody else has been getting bodied. If you see these 2 players in your lobby, it should mean primordial fear in a flight or fight response. These are 2 players, I cannot describe them as any word other than phenomenal. Celine, ranked 34,000, has been putting up scores that have made players like KSN rage quit matches. That is something that did happen. I need to stress this. This is a real statistic. If you were to take all of the plays that Celine has set in a tournament lobby, and I mean only plays that she has set in a tournament lobby, her profile rank would be nearly 1/3 of the rank that it is right now. She would be a whole 1,500 PP higher.
Yeah.
She is a D ranker. And UC2, of course, his fourth 5WC in a row has been a long-time Omega carry of the Netherlands team, helping drag the country to a 13th place finish last year with multiple team members missing for most of their matches. These two players are genuinely head and shoulders above nearly everyone else in this tournament, and they're probably going to shred through, like, all of these. Like, even on the ridiculously wide grade finals of 6.9 stars, that's nothing for the 96 Bulls. But the 96 Bulls were not just two guys playing basketball. They were a whole ass team, and a whole ass team Netherlands indeed has. OOB, Dennis Rodman of Osu. Oh, these comparisons are starting to suck. It's his second year in a row and his second year captaining as well, a self-described all-rounder at scheduling matches. He was a very helpful player for the Netherlands last year. He's kind of the player who will just pull out some ridiculous 800k plus score from genuinely nowhere at any stage of the tournament. Cheese Heat is back for year 3 as well. He's very good for the Netherlands in their later round. They have some new blood coming out on top of that, but these are all players who have been decently present in tournaments. Lucan actually is an older tournament player from around like 2018 to 2019. All 4 of these new players have been grinding a ton of tournaments in the last 3 to 6 months. And if you're going to ask me, I think this is one of the most well-prepared teams for the tournament, assuming it's just Oob, goddammit. I'm used to Mario Kart Wii, you call it OOB for out of bounds. Whatever, man. Assuming that UC2's internet can hold on to its dear life, I see a top 3 for them for sure. Again, these top 3 teams genuinely are interchangeable for, I think, most, if not all of us. I have them at 3rd personally at the moment.
Yeah, same. I see them getting to top 3. I see them getting to the finals, the grands. Just like you said, the Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. It's the Harlem Globetrotters of Osu. Five digits. They are making up half the roster. I don't know.
It's
I
like
don't watch basketball. I'm British.
UC2 and Celine are like 2 of the best players in the entire tournament.
Yeah.
And then the supporting players are also so good. Exide, Cheese Eat, Unveiled Golem, just Lucan coming back from like hiatus from like 4 years. If just Lucan gets back to like his peak, this team is so scary.
Yeah. I could
And
very easily see them on a 6.9 star pool just being able to steamroll any other team.
Oop is pretty much like the speed specialist, and Nibble is like the reading specialist. So they have 4 players for every single map, even in grand finals.
Yeah.
If they don't do like last year, where like 2 people just don't show up to matches and they don't practice the pool, yeah, then they're not gonna get first. But if all of them practice the pools and show up to matches, I think they can definitely win.
Yeah, like that's one thing that's key for tournaments like this. It's all fine talking about players' individual skills, how good they are. If you have a roster that can fit 4 players comfortably into any style of map, that is the most important thing that you're after in any sort of setting in a tournament. And the fact that they have it is...
This is a more versatile team than France in terms of the skill cap on every type of map. But
Yeah,
who knows?
we mentioned that France had one team that they were in close contention with. This is that team. The Netherlands is the team that
I think there's one
can
more.
take France down.
Yeah, there's one.
There's one more.
Oh, there's one more.
We'll
Oh,
get there, we'll get there.
we said one. Okay, there's 2. Never mind.
I
Sorry.
had them at 2nd place, the Netherlands, and then I looked at one of the other rosters and I was like, ooh, it's really hard between these top 3. Again, I need to elaborate every time we talk about the top 3. They are all interchangeable, all 3 of them. It could be any order. This is just, if you had to ask me, is my guess. All of our guesses combined. But yeah, I think this is a pretty third, first, fourth. I think we can average that to 3rd for now.
Third. I call that 3rd for now.
We will reevaluate this later. Moving onwards to New Zealand. Their full roster of Crew 998. Oyoba, I'm gonna call him Oyoba. I think it's funny calling him that. That's definitely just a face, but whatever. Dasher 1505, Wheat Bixman, Kerb Karis, Moxitone Gooster, and David Oye. Another roster that's almost completely reset. They did keep Ba, who I think most people would agree is New Zealand's best player. They did lose Basilisk, who is another one of those players who had played every single 5WC up until this point. They lost Hyperius, aka Psyche, which was pretty big for them as well, probably their next best player after Ba. I'm a little worried about whether they can qualify this year. They were on the lower end of qualifying teams in the first place last year. I forget where they qualified. I think it was somewhere around like 28th or 27th.
27th.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure losing such a big chunk of their core players is not super great for them. I do recognize some of their new players. Goofster, I recognize the name, but I don't remember where, and I still don't remember where. Uh, oh, where is he from? Might be like a 6WC something. I know he did jump up like 10,000 ranks about a month ago just because he wanted to. I think he's definitely a lot better than 40k, which is his rank, but we will see where they end up overall. I'm not sure if they'll be able to qualify with the hits they've taken. I do know Ba is capable of making the qualifier run happen, and again, this is another team that I would not be surprised at all to see at 25-32. But we'll have to see.
I think they're gonna just clutch it. Yeah, New Zealand has always been this type of team that usually barely gets into the qualification and then loses two 2 rounds, which I think is also gonna happen in this tournament. Oyoba, or formerly known, can we say it on stream?
No, you cannot.
No, we cannot.
All right. Yeah, he's also a veteran. He's been playing OSU tournaments for so long. He's definitely gotten also really good at the team, at the game, and I think they're gonna qualify.
I think it's. Oh, carry on.
All right, sorry. I have a hard time putting them qualifying. They lost Basilisk, they lost Kitten. Those were their 2 better players aside from Oyaba. I think the rest of the players that they replace them with just aren't going to be enough. I think it's just kind of hard. I do think Oyaba could push them past qualifiers, but even if they do qualify, it'll be like 32, 31 at best. So it's just kind of hard for me to root for them to qualify.
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly on that. A close qualifier again. You know, it's last year they did qualify, they got 27th, but this year it's gonna be a little lower. Like we said, we could see a 31st, 32nd, but it's gonna be a tough one.
Yep.
We'll see. I think this does at the moment average out to D and Q. I think if they're not qualifying, I think they're 33rd, 34th, like right there.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
the exact same situation as an OWC, pretty much.
Yeah,
Mm.
we'll see what happens later. We might rearrange that, but we'll get to there when we get to there. Moving on. For the time being, we have Norway. Bismarck CT Ski, is that right? Ice Cold, MRV,
Yeah.
DLF Faraz, Krise, Norwegian Vaxe, and
Norwegian
Zone
back
Uno.
there.
Holy shit, they've got Norwegian Vaxe?
Yeah,
No way,
speaking of near full resets, here's another one. Defectum is gone, Utlending is gone, Toti is gone. That is nearly the entire team.
Man,
They do have CT Ski still. He's a very good player who brings a lot to the table for Norway. Defectum, well, being a super player, and Utlending and Toti being very high quality players, I think it's just too big of a hit, and they didn't qualify last year even with them. I know Bismarck is very good. I'm surprised he hasn't been on the roster until now, but I just don't know. Even if because again, they didn't qualify last year with all of the players that I just listed. I don't see how they would be able to pull it out now.
Yeah, I think
their team from last year was better, and they didn't qualify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always hard to say, like, with teams that didn't qualify last year and the team overall loses its core. This is a harsh thing to say, but yeah, I really don't see them qualifying this year either.
too big of a hit, I think.
Mm.
Bismarck is very good though. I'm excited to see him play.
Yes.
Yes,
but
yes, very
we
true.
we can move on from that. Over to Peru.
Peru.
Which is a very, very interesting team for me. Hakodachi, formerly known as Blue Bunny, nice name change. Kairi, Mikt, Loham, Rules, Akai Senpai, Sunboy Yu. Poor Peru, man. I think, like, right after Kazakhstan, I think Peru is the team that ended up the worst off compared to last team. Margwenka, K-Trick, Momo are all gone. That is the team.
That is really tragic. Yeah, that is
That is like most of the reason, sorry, that they had such a good run last year to sit 17th. I think they do at least have some players on their roster who can attempt to fill some of the gaps caused by these missing players. As unfillable as the gaps like are as a whole, They do still have Kyrie, who's a good player, and Mick is someone who has been playing in plenty of tournaments recently. I think he's the player to watch out for this roster. Watch out for on this roster, if anyone. I do recognize Lohim and Takodachi as well. They should be able to help out the team a lot. I think the hits they took are so big that I have doubts about how they're going to end up doing. I do think it's hard for me. This is personally the team that I think is getting 32nd on the dot, but 32nd is qualifying, so I have them 25 to 32 for the time being, but it is going to be a very tight call.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely be a tight call. I've got them at 17th to 24th simply because due to like bracket reasons, I do see them getting a win. But it's again extremely tight. Qualifying is going to be by like barely, like that's how I imagine they'll qualify, around between 30 to 32nd. Yeah, I do see them winning one match at least, but other than that, it's kind of hard to say.
They lose Markwenka and Momo. That's such a big loss. I don't think they're able to recover from that, honestly. Even though I'd like to see them, qualify, I don't think they're able to. But
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this one. I think losing one, whatever. Losing two, losing all three, that's just detrimental to the team. Those were your best players, undeniably, and losing all three of them just doesn't do you any favors, even in the slightest. I just think it's going to be hard for him to come back from that this year. Maybe next year, though.
Yeah. Apparently there was like a badge wave like a couple days before signups ended, and I think Margwenka got gotten
Yes.
by that.
Yeah.
If I remember. Yeah, unlucky. I think they have it in them still. I think this averages out to 25-32. We'll see what we can
Once
move
again,
around, but yeah.
the 70th team and 25th to 32nd.
Very close. So we shall see how that ends up for them. Next roster here is the Philippines. This is a very interesting team as well. Zyfox, Scene 11L1, Yuki XO, Nathan SS, Lifaraye. I do not think that I pronounced that correctly. Akizaris, Okirema, and Shua. First and foremost, I would like to give a big congratulations to Yuki XO for winning the Upranker Award. He is sitting at about rank 5,000 right now. Good job, man.
let's go.
Really cool.
I think it's just pronounced Yukio.
It might be. I don't know. I just see an X and I want to say the letter X because it's funny. I'll say
Fair
Yuki.
enough.
I don't care. The Philippines roster here is hosting one of the best front ends out of any team in this tournament. Genuinely, Yuki, Nathan, Zyfox, and Scene are such a good four-man core. It's like really hard to fully explain that. And when you have a core that strong, you get a lot of leeway with who you're putting on the team in terms of backing. They had 51 signups, which is enough to where they were able to go through and pick who they thought would complement the core best. They landed on the rest of these four players. I don't know what specific skills those four excel in. I'm not as familiar with them. I know Shu is a little newer to tournaments, at least relative to the rest of the team. I think it depends on how much their back end is going to be able to fill for them here. This was my logic here for this team. I see them getting up to, I saw them getting up to close to top 8 or in top 8. And then I saw them going in, and I saw them going against a team where I think they need enough of a backing player, presence on the weirder maps to where they might get beaten by, a Germany or Australia. So I had them on my list to 7-8. That was the team that I was kind of, iffy with Germany on. So I have them 7, 8, 9, 12 range, but I think honestly, they could go higher, they could go lower. I think this is another coin flippy team, and it really depends on how on their core is on the given day and how much they're able to stay in the lobby. I think is going to be really key for them.
Yeah, that is a good point with how they're going to stay. I mean, the team Philippines, the core is immensely strong. I mean, Zyfox, Nathan SS, Yuki, all insanely strong players. And I with 7th to 8th, I do think they can beat last year's 9th. They'll be able to get up there, get towards the semis, get towards the finals. I think this is a Philippines roster to look out for, really. This is a It's very good changes.
I have them so
coming out for this
high,
year.
5th to 6th, because I think they simply outscale a lot of these other teams in pure mechanics.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of scaling does come into a factor a lot, especially with the latter pools. You know, they're going to be higher star rating than the previous years for sure. I think what would last year reach about 6.7-ish? We're going to be seeing more than that.
Yeah.
I think grand finals this year is I think a little bit above 7 again. 7.1, 7.2 maybe.
I can imagine a 7.1 grands, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the difficulty is definitely harder from last year.
I mean, if you have a good speed roster, you get like 4 points for free basically, depending on the pool. I don't know.
Depending on the pool, I know DT2 can
yeah.
sometimes be replaced by finger control rather than speed, but
I do
We'll see
think
how
they
it
have the
goes.
edge when it comes to mechanics over a lot of these other teams, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
We'll put them 7-8 for now, but we definitely have to move a team out of their roster, and if we have to move anyone up, I think we kind of have a good idea of where that
Yeah.
may go. But we'll see when we get around to it. For now, we're going to move on to Poland. Roster of Makise Kurisu, previously Stanol, joined by, I had this wrong. I thought for some reason Kristoff was on the team, but no, Nutrikula is here to play with Hot Ring, Tiller XK, Yuki Minakami, previously known as Saturas, Baby Chicken PL, Bochin, and Agent 5D. This team has a decent amount of familiar returning players on it, people returning to 5WC after many years. Hot Ring and Makise Kurisu back from 2020. Yuri Minakami, Jesus, I butchered that. Back from 2021. Baby Chicken and Tiller back from last year. Bochin, Agent 5D, and I think Nutrikula as well are making their 5WC debut here. Makise has been around the tournament scene for a long time. They were up in 4-digit for a while, but they're back down. Definitely one of their star players, I think. Baby Chicken, another name that I've seen incredibly frequently as of recent, is a grinder of the game for sure. Hot Ring coming back will be very interesting to see. He hasn't played much for tournaments since around the end of 2021, but he made it onto the team and he seems pretty ready to play. They did have some hits, no Kandi, no Baziu, sorry. I think they will be okay-ish still. I'm not as personally familiar with the players here as I am with a lot of other teams, so if anyone has more insight, that would be nice. I have them personally sitting around 13th.
I think this is definitely an upgrade from last year. Stanol, Saturas, and Baby Chicken PL improving a little bit the game. Unless they mess up in the bracket, in the early stages or something, I definitely see them going farther than last year.
Yeah, same sentiment here with going farther than last year. Poland has always been a strong team when it comes to tournaments like this, and picking up a few star players from the previous year's 5WCs is definitely a great addition to their team. I think they will go further. Just how far, can't say for sure, but definitely 9th to 12th I feel like is a comfortable position for them to be in at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is an underdog team. I think that the amount of improvement that has happened with this team is absolutely wild. If we go back to their history, they've got 5th, 9th, 5th, and those were absolutely super teams with the likes of Magblood. They had Powlock, they had Shybus, they had all these insane players. Unfortunately, last year they lost every single member of that team, getting Kristoff and Kandi back with Bazu returning. Losing Bazu is definitely a hit. Losing Kristoff is definitely a hit. Losing Kandi is definitely a hit. The thing is, those players that we're replacing them with, Hot Ring, Makise, all these players have been grinding. You see them on these super teams and all these, like, even these 5K to infinite tournaments. You see them on these really insane teams doing at least semifinals, which within 5K rank as a 5-digit is pretty good, considering how many cracked 5K players are. And I have a hard time placing them any lower than this. I'm not placing them any higher than this because I do worry about, like, their I'll think of it eventually. Hold on.
They're scaling against the other teams.
Yes. That was not the word I wanted, but yes, that works.
Yeah. I can see it. I had them like I had them like as the team that in my 13 to 16 to move up. So yeah, 9-12 is pretty cleanly understandable for me. I think we're in mostly consensus there almost. So
Yep.
we can move to
Portugal, who had like
Portugal.
20 million signups.
Yep, Ice God, MTG, Foxy, Mihail223, Stickmano, Peter King, Envy, and something. Ice God, Stickmano back for round 3. 2 usernames I've seen a decent bit of, especially Ice God. I've seen him in round tournaments pretty much all the time. Looking to see if they can qualify this year. They were 41st last year, and they made what I would say are some pretty decent changes on their roster. MTG, I think, is the highlight player here for me personally. He's slightly newer than players like Ice God, but he seems to be one of the team's best players alongside him. He has a pretty decent amount of versatility, which is super important for a team like this. According to the team submission for Portugal, like half the team has a hidden 2 buff, and one of them is French, so that's cool, I guess. They have a lot of promise. They had a pretty decent pool of like 60-something players to pick for the team from signups. So we'll see if the 8 they ended up going with will be able to pull it off in the end. I think they're going to be close to qualifying. I think they're in that like 33 to 30, like 7 range, but I don't personally think that they get there.
Yeah, same. Another buff from last year's performance. Definitely with picking up players like MTG, but if it's the push that's needed to push them into qualifying, I'm not entirely sure on that just yet. The 33 to 37 does sound around about right, I'd say, in my mind. I'd love to see them go further. I'd love to see them qualify and play. But as of right now,
Have they qualified before in recent years?
I do not believe so.
No.
They have not. Nope.
All right. So if they're ever gonna qualify, I think this is the year that they're gonna be the closest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gonna improve for sure from their 41st from last year. It's just whether they actually get up there.
Yeah. So
I think they'll barely clutch it, but yeah,
We'll see.
the DNQ is valid.
They go from 2019 to not qualifying, and unfortunately don't have stats for that one. 2020, not even having a team in 2020.
Yep.
2021 getting 52nd, and then 2022 getting 41st. So they're continually making improvements. And for not having a team in 2020 to having 60 signups 2 years later is absolutely insane for this team.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be able to qualify, unfortunately. Next year, they 100% will. There's no doubt in my mind that they will qualify next year.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a very strong team in the future for sure. But we'll move on to Reunion. Roster of numero 0E, I don't know how to pronounce that. Albm, Kessie, Mito Mashro, Nesria, Shinitra, Taimu Toribera, and Zeker. I mean, they lost Zevi, who's now known as Hardstuck7, who was like by a very, very, very large margin their best player, and they were still almost last qualifiers last year. They didn't gain anyone who can come close to replacing his role on the team. I don't know really much that has changed there. They have too many players with too little experience. That's just kind of how it is sometimes when you are a like small territory of France off the coast of some
I think it's crazy that Réunion has a team, but India doesn't.
That is actually really funny.
That is. Yeah, that's. I mean, Reunion, of course, being a smaller territory, they're always gonna have a smaller pool of players to pick from. Due to just population, and we do see half the team returning, which is one of the higher retention rates this year. Though I know we've got players like Kessie, Stream Farmers, who if you see like tops like that, you'd wonder what else they can do. So for me, it is a DNQ. I'm just not entirely sure on the skill range of these players and what they will be able to bring. Again, love to be proved wrong. Love to see a small territory go up against the big dogs. But sadly this year I do not see it.
Yeah, I think from basically going from last seed to qualifying is such a big jump that I think to make that jump you need a notable player. Like you look at it instantly recognize that they just don't have that player this year.
Yeah.
So like will they do better? Probably. But going from 56 to 32 is a giant jump, and I just don't think they have it in this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we'll put them down for the time being. Moving onwards to Romania. Interesting team here. Alex Balea, Sylvian, Antonio Basromanie, I didn't pronounce that correctly. Corino, Oltz, Zephy YT, and Javi. I don't have to really say it, but Romania losing a lot of these players is very unfortunate. Obviously, Keyhest being the big name, played 5WC and then played OWC like 3 or 4 months later. To the surprise of really, I don't think anyone. He was one of the best players in the range. Losing Tuck as well is a massive hit for them that I'm not sure they'll be able to recover from losing both of those players. They do retain some of their talent for sure. Alex Balea especially is a pretty well-known player. The overall experience of the team, though, basically plummeted from last year. They're going to have to really work hard on making sure their consistency is in peak form if they want to be able to qualify for the tournament. But I don't think it's completely out of the question for them. This team is my personal pick for spot number 33. I think they are going to, at least if it goes in my head the way I think it would, be the closest team to qualifying that doesn't qualify. But I think just barely that they took too much of a hit to be able to really make it. But
Last
I could easily
year,
be proven wrong.
Gehest, AC Pacey, and Tuck pretty much played every single map and also hard carried on those maps, and they lose those players. So I feel like they don't really have any carried players left enough to get them to qualify.
Yeah, you see
Especially
those
considering last year they were already like 28, which isn't that high. So
yeah, I was going to say that playing with those 3 players and getting 28th out of 32nd of qualifying teams, losing those 3, it's a massive hit, and it's hard to see, just quite what they can do otherwise. Again, sound like a broken record. Love to be proven wrong, as with every other team in DNQ. Love to be proven wrong with those teams, but I feel like the hits this year are just too big for the Romanian side. Though, we do have Alex Balea fans in the chat. They do believe.
I'm an Alex Balea fan. I
think we're all Alex Balea fans at heart, really. Yeah.
We'll see what they can do. I would be very happy to be proven wrong. They're not maybe a little higher than 33rd. We'll see. Speaking of high placing teams, Russia. HRDS Nitro, is it HRDS or is it Herds? I don't know. Nitro, Danfi, Light 135, Imaginary Vaccine, Maki Brony, Currently Infiltrator. Yeah, I don't gotta say that much, man. This team is just way too good.
This
team
very good.
is very
good.
Abnormally strong. Literally every player on this team would be a superstar core player on almost every other team in the tournament. And even with every player being that good, Maki Brony and Imaginary Vaxe are still a step above the rest of the team. They are super duper players. They listed in their team submission that they have 0 weaknesses, that they are 8 Terminators set to destroy, which is a bad omen, but also I can't really disagree with them. They're just kind of omega strong.
Yeah.
Oxavikov is missing from last year notably, but even without him present, this team just has way too many strong players to be even close to missing the end of this tournament.
I would like to know if Oxavikov and 2003 Max tried out, because if they tried out and didn't make the team, that would be really, really, really scary.
That would be really funny.
That would
so
be extremely
if any Russian in the
scary.
chat can maybe tell us that, but yeah.
If those 2 did try out, yeah, it's again always been an insane roster. Imaginary Vaxe, Macabroni coming back, Kerndy as well. I felt like an unsung hero just from talking about Imaginary Vaxe and Macabroni. Kerndy returning, also a huge force to be reckoned with. Yeah, there's not really much else to say other than I feel like second really is whoopsie daisies.
Yeah.
I messed that up. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah,
I mean, second.
they don't even have fill players. They just have 8 good players.
They have 8 players that just can play everything, and it's extremely scary when you go against Russia.
I do want to highlight Danfi. He is actually like much newer than the rest of the team, but he was still good enough to get on the team, and that is really scary. He could pop off really hard potentially.
We're neglecting to mention that they were first seed last year. They placed first in the qualifiers out of every other team in the tournament.
Yeah,
Sadly, did not make the top 4. It happens, seeding does not equal placing, but just being able to place first in and of itself is such a huge achievement, and I have a feeling they could do it again.
Yeah, we talked about
with the upgrade of France and other teams like Netherlands, maybe a bit harder this year, but still they've got what it takes.
They're a team as well that has won the tournament before. They did win in 2020.
Pretty
convincingly for that matter.
We talked about the teams that can contest with France, and I think Russia is right there it is that team, that second place that absolutely is capable of taking first against the monster that is this France. I'm very excited to see how they play in this.
Yeah.
All variations of red, white, and blue in the flags. That's what
Yeah.
the top of the tier list looks like.
Yeah, I'll put him up there. Not a big surprise to me. Shout out to Ice Shark, by the way. He is really scary. Also, I think we're gonna be seeing his name in a year or two. He has like I think he has like a 600 or something.
Also, Kerndy has been playing tournaments actively also for like 5 years or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
So it would be very nice for him to finally, win a World Cup.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Serbia.
Starting to Serbia, Chepi, Matija, Youngphil, Milos179, and me please, Chubby, Lineal, and Server, I think. Another team that was unfortunately near the bottom of the qualifiers last year, and their team is unfortunately still lacking a lot of that experience that I think is required for a team to qualify. I do think the players on Serbia have been improving pretty decently since the last time we're here. Like Chubby and Chepi will be at least able to hold their own in some of these qualifier maps. So I do not think they will be last by any means. I think they will definitely improve their qualifier placement, but I do not really see any way that they would be qualifying, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, seeing obviously placing low last year, the players have improved, but then again, so has everyone else. It's them being able to sort of match it. That's the real question here, and it's hard to say, but I really don't think so. Maybe they could prove us wrong. Maybe a dark horse. Who knows? Young Phil, his name's screaming out to me. Maybe he's the goat. Who knows?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm looking for Young Phil's my pick of the tournament. That's my
Whole
MVP
tournament?
right there. The whole tournament, yeah.
All right.
No, not a team, just Young Phil. I think Young Phil wins.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. We can move on to a interesting team here, Singapore. DVD the first, NV formerly known as 200-201 Envenho. Toru, Beichu, copy-pasted Holonese, Can Never FC, and Apple Tier. A team that was formed using a quote-unquote proprietary algorithm, according to whoever submitted the team. I don't know what that means, but it worked because their team is looking really stacked this year. They have placed 13th for the last 2 years, and I think this team, they are going to blow straight past that. DVD back for his 4th 5WC and his 3rd captaining. He's been on every Singapore team thus far, and this year's no exception. He's a very phenomenal hidden player who's going to be able to put in a lot of work for their team. Beichu and Toru back for their 3rd 5WC in a row as well. These are players that have been super present in the tournament scene as a whole, and it's not surprising to see them back at all. Holonese copy-pasted and Can Never FC filling some of their back end. Literally all 3 of those players are good at most of the skill sets you will see in a normal tournament setting. Having 3 people who are able to fill literally anything and fill it well is something that is incredibly underrated and super key for teams like Singapore to have. But the 2 players that I want to especially highlight here are Apple Tier and Enviri. Apple Tier is a very interesting player for me. He's the wild card of the team. This is one of his first tournaments ever, and it will be interesting to see what he can do once he hits the bracket stage. From what I know of him, he is a very, very strong tapping player who has incredible DT scaling and on stream speed maps. A very solid amount of experience with his hidden and hard rock as well. And with a country like Singapore, where I know a lot of their players are already very good at tapping, the fact that they opted to put Apple Tier on this team is very exciting to me. So I'm looking forward to see him as well. But obviously, I think to most players who are in the know, the name to really talk about here is Enviri. Envy is one of the best players in the whole tournament for certain. I can't think of any skill set that he's bad at. If there's any player that is the closest to being in those 4 super players I mentioned earlier, it's probably him. He has an OQC badge under his belt as well as a decent few banners from things like the Singapore World Tour. He's going to scale fantastically into the later rounds of the tournament. I expect him to be able to pull a lot of weight for Singapore, even into the 6.7, 6.9 star pools. It's important, obviously, to note that they did lose a few very big players. Inquisitives actually ranked up finally. Jock 3 also missing, as well as a few other people here. But the players that they still have remaining on their team are so good that I don't think they are going to be impacted super heavily by this. If they did have Inquisitives, that would be messed up. But regardless, I think they are getting 5th, personally.
I think...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like it's a credit to the team that they can lose a player of the caliber of Inquisitives, and we still place them higher than what we get last year. Just like the absolute skill that we're seeing on display from people like Apple Tier, yeah, and Viri, just a really, really stacked roster. And when you just look at it, take a step back and look what they all can do. So yeah, 5th to 6th, I feel like is a good placement for this team. Even like we've seen other teams lose their star players and just get shot down the rankings, but Singapore's done the opposite and they've managed to, in our eyes, bounce back. And yeah, that's 5th to 6th. I feel like it's a good placement for them.
I just think that without Inquisitives, they don't beat Philippines. Yeah.
That's fair.
It's a fair observation. Yeah.
My thing with this team is this is my second favorite team to watch aside from Italy, of course. But you think like losing Inquisitives, losing Jock 3, it's like, oh, our 5WC hopes are over. And we can ignore the returning players for a second. Getting NVRE, getting Hollow Knees, getting copy pasted, getting Cannever FC, and like I said, we're gonna ignore the 3 returning players for a second. All of those players have proven themselves in any tournament like this past year. You see all these players consistently get quarterfinals, semifinals, and then in the case of NBRE, it has an actual badge, I think, from a tournament like a few months ago. And then we go back to the 3 players that are returning. Toru has absolutely destroyed like Hard Rock scores this past year. Beichu has definitely improved so much. DVD is just an absolute staple for this team in terms of like mental and captaincy. And the reason this is my second favorite team is because I have a little birdie, and apparently this is potentially DVD's last year. I want them to do good.
It's the Dimash effect. Who knows?
Maybe.
So,
Well, we'll see how they can do. I have high hopes for the team for certain. Yeah.
All right.
Throw 'em up. Moving on to Slovakia. Team of Migo, Lexblocker, Dougie, Seam, Enchanted Spider, Sivyad. No, that's not right. Zex and Flipper 79. Slovakia is a team that a lot of people would write off pretty quickly at first, despite the infamy of Migo probably being one of the most recognizable names of the whole tournament if you've been around for a while. Slovakia hasn't really been able to qualify for this tournament since 2019. They have always been very close. They were 40th last year and 34th the year before, but they just haven't been able to really put it together. But I personally think that if there was any year that might tip them over the edge, it is this one. And I have a couple reasons for that. Lex Balker and Migo are entering their 5th 5WC. They are the only 2 players remaining in the entire tournament who have played every single iteration thus far. Migo has captained every single year as well. I don't think anyone's even close to matching his captaincy count aside from maybe Ale. Lex Balker is a very solid player. He's been instrumental in Slovakia getting as close to qualifying as they have for the tournament in the past. I think most people would point to him as one of their best players. And you can't forget about Migo himself. Obviously, they call him Migo the Paycheck because he gets paid. He collects supporter prizes like it's a day job. He has 4 badges to his name from some pretty high-level tournaments. So he said he had like 30 top 3 placements or something, which is actually pretty solid, say what you will. But for Slovakia, it's always been the case where I think if there was that one player who could push them over the edge, that they might be able to qualify. And I think that the year they have found that player in Dougie. He was on the team last year as well, but his skill has skyrocketed so hard since that tournament that he's now approaching the cusp of being like a borderline super player. And the duo of Dougie and Lexblocker, I think, provides enough skill at the 6.3 star range that the qualifier pool's at, that I think they are barely going to squeeze in and be able to play the tournament stage once more. That's my personal thought. I have them 25th.
I have had my mind changed. I had them as DNQ earlier, but hearing that and just taking a step back and looking at it, yes, I do actually think that they can squeeze themselves in, especially with the experience. Because a big point we were talking about other teams was the lack of experience. You know, it's their first tournaments, their first 5WC. If you can look no further than Migo and Lexblocker for experience, every 5WC, I feel borderline sorry for them, but it's still that's got to give them a huge boost in confidence. Their nerves, that's also a big factor in match as well. Yeah, they've been doing it for so long, their nerves will be much more manageable. I feel like this could be the year that they do it. I'm thinking about that now, taking a step back and having another look. But,
Yeah, good to note
Yeah.
as well that Enchanted Spider's also in his 4th year and Seems on his 3rd. They have a very decent amount of experience in this tournament series.
Yeah, the experience can be key sometimes, and I feel like this might be the key for them this year.
I'd be extremely surprised if they don't qualify this year. But yeah.
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 I think so we have the iconic duos of UC2 Celine, and then we have Mize and Cumania. I think there's a trio, and I think the trio has to be Migo, Scene, and Enchanted Spider. They have just been playing together for so long, and it hurts me every year that they do not qualify. I think that even if they didn't replace anyone, I still think that just they've gradually been gaining skill throughout the years, and I just think that it's their time now. I think it's this year.
Yep. I'm a believer.
I'm a believer.
I'm a
All right.
believer in the Slovakian
Let's
Slovakian
move on.
powerhouse.
Yeah, we'll move
Whereas,
on. 25th for now. We'll go South Korea, YHS PhD, Czech, Soromon, New God, Lupins, Yuyuko, Ruby, and ABCDE. A couple of unfortunate events happened in a row for Team South Korea this year. Mona Mike, one of their hard carry players, ended up getting caught by that badge wave I mentioned earlier and not being able to play the tournament. There's another player who could have been on this roster but opted to do something else. We'll talk about them later. They lost Maihen and Isome as well, who were pretty key players for them last year. I think at the end of the day, South Korea had 9 sign-ups that actually wanted to play the tournament. And even
Oh.
despite that, they were able
Wow.
to put a very good roster together, I think. I think most importantly to note is that they gained a lot of the players back that they had on their 2021 roster that made the run all the way up to 2nd place. YHS PhD, ABCDE, and Soromon all coming back from that roster. I would argue that the stronger players for Korea in 2021 were probably players like Lolboats and Garlulu, but having their back end back regardless from that team is very important for them. And I think joining that 2019 portion of the team are some extremely underrated players who are really able to step up if they can reach that mid-bracket stage. Yuyuko has had some pretty solid showings in tournaments like Quarterly Cup and has been grinding super hard to get his consistency up recently. And I think it's going to pay off from this year. New God is absolutely the player to look out for. He had a good run himself in Acnum's Banger Cup, and he is absolutely one of the players I'm most excited to see out of the entire tournament. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for him to show what he's able to do. And all of the good things that I have said out of these players aside, the number 1 player out of their qualifiers is Chex, who is ranked 70,000. Washed all of them. So I think this team is one of the more volatile teams in the tournament, and it all depends on if they can really continue to stay at peak performance through the mid stages of the tournament. I could unironically see them getting as high as like 9-12, like if they get a good bracket. I personally have them in the middle. I have them at 13th. I don't know how popular that opinion is, which is still a pretty good improvement from last year, but we will see how they do. Personally.
Yeah, I think South Korea has always been a force to be reckoned with in any OSU tournament. They've always had a roster that could go toe-to-toe with the top flight. But obviously, this year, 9 signups, you're very limited in what you can get. But again, them putting together a team of this caliber is still very impressive with only 9 signups. Personally, I think 17th to 24th is a good spot for them to be. I feel like they'll win a match. But any more than that, it's kind of hard to say. But like with some returning players from their 2nd place run of 2 years ago, they definitely have the ability to upset. But personally, I think 17 to 24 is a good spot for them to be.
Yep. Pretty
I've just
fair.
taken the words out of the rest of the mouths. Sorry, lads. My fault.
That's all right. Nothing more to say. Said it all.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll put them. Yeah,
Spain.
Spain. A roster of Zilva, My Angel Bawe, is that right? Angel XC, Sakori, Edron, Apollodex, Escrupulila. No, that's
Yep,
not
you
right.
got it. Yep,
And
that's it.
Sprite. No, I did not get it. Zilva has been playing plenty of tournaments recently. 5WC now for his 3rd year. He's going to be their star player for this year, I think. Angel Sakori back as well. Everyone else is fresh blood. I do want to highlight a few of the new players. Zilva said that Bawe is their scariest player, and he's basically 5-digit GN. I don't know how you can be GN at a 5-digit level, Biochode notwithstanding. But apparently he's super beast, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play. Angel as well. apparently played qualifiers and was cleanly on the team while skipping the entirety of the DT pool because he didn't feel like playing it. So those three players really, Zilva, Angel, and my Angel Bawe, they're two Angels, but I think they're going to be able to be the highlight players for them, and I think they're going to bump them up to qualifying personally. Now I mentioned them qualifying the last 2 years. There is a big red elephant in the room. They did lose Am Happy. I'm not sure if he quit or if he's just an offline player right now, but I think it's reasonable to say he was their best player last year. Taking as big of a hit as that is hard for a team that's struggling to win bracket matches like in the main tournament. But despite that, I do think they still have what I would say is a favorable chance of qualifying this year.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The favourable chance to qualify against other teams in bracket, it's really not a sure shot whether they'll win or not. Especially with hits to their core roster, like I'm happy. But looking at these players, I do see them qualifying, definitely getting the 25th to 32nd range. What they can do from there is really up to them and how they can perform. Again, seeing 3 people stay as well, that's again a rarity. We've been seeing 2 or less people stay quite often for these teams.
Yeah, there's been a lot of resets this year, for sure.
Okay.
Let's
go to Sweden.
All right, cool.
I'm doing too much speaking. I'll sit down. Sorry, lads.
So I feel that. Yeah, Sweden roster of Clappy, Sige, who's formerly known as Senuri Pix, Infraghost, Headhunter, Yumetsu, Adichie, Ederulo, and Lightning Fox. A big return to form for Clappy. He was a pretty solid tournament player around 2020
Massive
to
upgrade.
2021.
Massive upgrade.
Really nice to see him back. Yeah, I think this roster upgraded for sure. Sige's in for his 3rd year in a row. He's the super player for the team and will be balling out pretty hard on the Hard Rock picks in this tournament. He's probably one of the better Hard Rock players in the tournament. I want to highlight Yumetsu here as well. He's a super underrated player who's been putting up pretty good performances as of recent. Got a 2nd place in YESC along with a couple other good tournament placements. The duo of Sige and Yumetsu plus Clappy for whatever maps he wants to play is going to get Sweden, I think, surprisingly far. It's a couple of notes. No, Ersi really should be on this team, but he's in Japan at the moment, and he doesn't really have a setup he can play on. Losing Pig and ZXZ are notable losses from last year, but regardless, I do think the Sweden roster is stronger than last year, and that their back end is a lot better than most people give them credit for. Lightning Fox spawned out of nowhere. He started playing tournaments like 3 months ago and is already making 5 WC teams, so that's super impressive from him. So we'll have to see what's in store for Sweden. I definitely think they're qualifying. I think there's no shot they don't qualify. I personally have them... Seagate talked me out of putting them 17th, 24th almost, but I personally, I'm on the edge between 25th and 17th. I could see them getting either.
Yep.
That's it. Seagate talked to me a lot, so I kind of had a lot of insight on that team. But
yeah, 17th to 24th does seem reasonable for a team like this. They'll get out. They'll most likely win a bracket match.
Phelan went to OWC. Yeah, he's not even close to playing anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could just put Sweden there then. Switzerland, a roster of NA, Zakatel, Gigi Boy, Kokono Kokoro, Azur, Amatsuka Uto, Seltor, and Zelidir. They've been a pretty consistent team for the last few iterations of the tournament. They always get written off kind of early due to how underrated the players are, but they always manage to qualify pretty cleanly. They were 26th out of quals last year, and they kept the 4 core players that they've had since 2020 that I think are making the difference for them, which are N, Zakatel, Gigi, and Seltor. So it's hard for me, at least, to really argue why they wouldn't be able to qualify again. A lot of the teams in that 25-32 range have more or less stayed the same as well, while I think Switzerland has actually improved a bit. Aside from their normal progression of player improvement being decently active tournament players as their whole team, they added Uto to the team, who I think has a very good amount of skill cap and will definitely prove to be a valuable addition to the team. He's gotten himself all the way up to near rank 7,000. I played mini golf with him once. That was funny. I think they're going to be able to hold it down pretty well this year. I don't see any reason they don't qualify.
Yep.
25th.
I agree.
Yeah.
Who won the mini golf?
Buddha did, but I was
No
second.
Deramog though. The God Mapper.
Yeah, I feel like another addition to the 25th to 32nd here. Like that's a clean shout for them. I feel like there's so many people in 25th to 32nd because we don't know how they match up against each other. It's a matchup against each other really that's kind of key. If you put any of these two against each other, you think who's going to win. There's not really a clean cut winner.
This is incredibly funny looking. Looking at this bracket again,
There's nobody in fourth. There is no
11
fourth place.
teams there. There's no one in 17.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's Taiwan. God damn it.
Fourth place is a
Uh-oh.
social
Let's go.
construct.
Let's go.
I don't have. Listen, us poor blue collar commentators are being victimized by these players. We put our heart and soul into making these tournaments more entertaining for you all, and for nothing but the love of the game, and this is how we are treated. DNQ. You're ejected from the game.
Yeah.
That's
Move
so
on.
true. DNQ.
Just move on.
DNQ.
Move on.
This is a strike.
I really like the
I
look
honestly-
of UAO 42.
I have no idea what's going on with this
Maybe I
team.
don't know.
Yeah, let me run down the cheat sheet real quick. Summer Oo is their captain. He's number 30. Jingfire, number 29. UA0428 is the real one, number 28. Ruyaya, 27.
Yeah.
Dyson, 26. Zefkiel, 25. Raider, 24. And Rainty, 23, who did change his name this morning. He was a little late to the name changes, but he got convinced eventually. Switzerland has... Oh, sorry. I was talking about
Taiwan.
Switzerland earlier because Switzerland and Taiwan both have Massachusetts residents on their team. I thought it was really funny because I'm also a Massachusetts resident. Anyways, this team should really strike fear to the hearts of all who may come across them, not just because they are now one person with 8 split personalities, but also because of just how strong these players are. I know Zefkiel very well. He's one of the elite players on this roster and probably one of the better low AR hidden players in the whole tournament, at least from my own perspective. Ruyaya, especially being one of the new players on the team, is actually probably going to be one of the standouts. Another case of someone who started playing around the end of 5WC and has already gotten incredibly good and consistent. I could go in depth into all 8 of these players, but for the sake of time, all you really need to know is that this team has like 4 or 5 super players or something to that effect. As long as their more veteran players aren't super rusty and they're all playing at their peak, this is easily one of, at least in my opinion, the more well-rounded teams in the tournament. I have them in my top 8 for sure. I don't know how well they're going to be able to contend. The rest of these top teams is probably not that big of a surprise what the remaining top 8 team that's like notably missing is. But there is a lot of, we kind of filled up a lot of the top 8 already. I have them 7th, but I can be argued anything really, so please go ahead.
Yeah, like the 5 super players argument does apply to Taiwan here. It makes the loss of players like Hahana like just feel almost not well. It doesn't. They don't feel as significant in comparison to losses of big players from other teams, just because of the caliber of the players still on the team. And of course, we see what is that 5 player retention, which is it's not the highest, but it is one of the highest.
Yeah.
Of course, Rainty staying as well. Rainty always being a top flight player in tournaments like this. I think 13th to 16th is a good placement for Taiwan, because I'm not sure how well they fare on later stage map pools, and they do sadly get low SR sometimes as well.
That's fair. I think they'll be able to make the run, but I may be a little biased.
Alright.
Maybe a little bit, because the
I believe in
Massachusetts
UA,
connection.
UA, so
Yeah, UA
I'm
has
very
some
excited.
good skill.
I've definitely
UA
got my-
can contend a lot on the hidden picks. UA is pretty good at DT.
I've
9 to
definitely got my eye on
12.
UA this year.
I really have my eye on UA this year for sure.
I was gonna go
Don't
into
get me
this.
started on UA though.
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
go
no.
into this.
UA's crazy, dude.
Really? UA? Yeah, UA is the Michael Jordan, I think. The 96, the 96.
96 bullets of Osu players again. Yeah, sure. Right, yeah. Moving on to Thailand, Vixera, PPKM, Simple, Mocha Alba, Neko Shabata, Bird Thongshai, Kraken Lord 420, and TZ Artifact. That's the best name in the tournament, Kraken Lord 420 for sure.
100%. That's 2013 Xbox vibes.
Yeah, I look at this team and I feel like it has a pretty wide range of players in terms of their tournament skill. You have someone like Vixera, who has been a very good player for them, and you have someone like Neko Shabata, who recently got 3rd in an open rank Thai tournament, I believe. And some of the newer players on this roster you have on the other end, such as Artifact, who have only really played in the main bracket of 1 tournament so far in his life, and players like Kraken Lord, Mocha Alba. They haven't been really given the opportunity to prove how good they can be in these higher SR tournament pools yet. So it's kind of hard for me to properly place them. I'm not really sure what to expect from this team. I think Neko is the highlight of this roster for sure. Neko Shabata, sorry. He's their super player, and he's going to be in for most of their run this tournament. Very notably missing chests, obviously, from last year. He was vital for their 9th place run they pulled off. Probably not going to be repeating that. But they certainly
Yeah.
are going to play here regardless. I think they can do pretty well if they stay focused on the goal. I have them at 17th, personally.
17th. Yeah,
What
Yeah,
we
I
do-
think 17th is the right place.
I was thinking 13th to 16th because Thailand is a good squad, but I feel like we can't overlook the loss of Chests and C Major 7. Chests
Mhm.
was by far their best player last year.
Especially with Chess' performance lately. I mean, even just in this past weekend, he's gotten a lot of attention for certain scores he set in match. So yeah, it's unfortunate to lose Chess, but I think Thailand still definitely has their path to success here.
Yeah, I mean, last year's 6th qualifier placement, that is nothing to be sniffed at whatsoever.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good, for sure.
Pretty good.
yes.
We'll
All
throw
right.
them. We're all good? We'll throw them 17?
Yeah.
Alright.
Tunisia.
Tunisia! Sky
Tunisia!
FM,
Let's
9
go.
Is that
The
right?
second African team in the tournament.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Giro, Soil 1, Deadbane, and Hamo Debecha. Thank you for getting a team together and coming out to play. I hope you guys have a good time. I do know of Sky FN. I believe I saw him in 6WC. He was pretty decent for them there. I'm not sure how well the 6WC's stuff is going to be able to translate into tournament performance in a tournament with this high SR of a map pool average. I feel like I recognize Soil 1 as well, but I don't know where from. I mean, obviously 6 players. It's too big of a deficit to really overcome. I don't think they'll really qualify. They did cite Jiro as their best player, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hit the consistency they need. But yeah, they don't. Jiro could be like Thanos, Cookies, Joe Biden, and just SS every map in the qualifier. But if I'm betting money here, I don't think they are going to qualify. I think they need more players.
I'm
I
putting
mean,
first 'cause I think
if he does, it's like Arnold in OWC, and they still
Yeah.
didn't qualify. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm putting first because I love Tunisia.
Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
if we're looking at African nations in world tournaments, you need to look no further than the World Cup for football 2022, and Morocco. You know, you can show that they do have what it takes.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
And
it's
those World Cup players are actually on this team.
real.
Playing
That's
OC mode.
true.
It's true.
That is
a true
true.
fact.
That is true.
Uh,
Zaruri is Deadbane.
Yeah.
Sorry for leaking that.
So we will have to see where they end up.
Yeah.
I hope they have a good time playing the tournament. Moving on to Turkey.
Turkey.
Saida, Arsonist, Sinyan, Waffle, Zybit, Batu, Sorok, and Atakan. This is another very interesting team historically in the tournament. They barely qualified last year. They squeaked in at 31st place, but they got a very solid win over Spain and losers to make it to 17th. But I think they took too many big hits this year. They lost Rosidi, their longtime captain. They lost Empty Pudding and Ambad as well. Ambad, you could argue, is the best speed player in the entire rank range before he quit sometime around October. Losing him is a very, very massive loss, especially with like the general Osu meta. They have a couple of good players, though. Batu was a very big help for them last year as well, and Waffle has been improving very solidly over the last few months. I think they have a decent few players here who will have the opportunity to do well if they come prepared to their qualifier lobby. They're like close-ish to qualifying, but I personally think they took too many hits for them to get there.
Yeah.
I think their team last year was better, and they got 31st.
Yeah.
So
So that means they
I
get
know.
32nd. Yep, 100%.
I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, no, it's always sad to see a team that are barely qualified have a team that is arguably not as strong. Because it always hurts to have a team that did qualify last year be put in DNQ. But who knows? At the end of the day, it's all about showing up and doing your best, and sometimes your best is enough. We could see Turkey pull out the run of a lifetime. I'm hoping for that, at least for their sake. But as it stands right now, I don't really see them making it.
I am a firm believer of the Waffle carry. I think that Waffle has improved exponentially this year from last year. Obviously losing players like Ambad and yep, that one. Is definitely a hit, but considering how much better Waffle got, and Batu is also very strong, and I don't think any of these other players slouches either. I think it's going to be an uphill battle, but I definitely do think they can for sure make it to qualify.
All right.
I can see it. We'll put them down DNQ for now, but I will
I can
definitely
see
be
it.
looking out for Turkey for sure. Yeah, Ukraine is here.
Ukraine.
Unaval, Blackjet, Sugar, respective Vani Dani, Blaine, Holast, and Igurko. Very interesting team to me as well. They were 42nd last year, out of qualifiers. Unaval, their captain this year, has been crafting himself into probably one of the best hidden players in the tournament. He has been outstanding for a very long time now in that skill set, but he's stayed pretty consistent in everything else alongside it, and he's definitely now made a name for himself as a player to watch out for. Blackjack is back for the team, last playing in 2020, which is also the last time they qualified. I think that is super big for them, and I think that's going to push them over the edge. He's a very excellent all-rounder who will really be able to bring this team a step further. They did lose a few decent players in Bullet for Fun and Quimby, but the players they've gained are pretty solid. I see two other pretty important names, Shurgo and Respective. Shout out to the Medal Hunters. He has like 240 medals in this game. Watch out for him on DT. That is all I think I will really have to say about him. Shurgo is someone who I think can bring a solid third skill cap player to the team as long as they're able to stay consistent. I know they are capable at most skills, but we'll have to see if they can hang in there in a World Cup setting. It's looking like a good year for Ukraine, at least from my perspective. I definitely have them taking at least a round. I think this is one of those tournaments that is better compared to the other teams in the later rounds than the early rounds. If they were kind of just dropped in like round of 16 star rating pools, I think they would do a lot better. This could be skewed if they manage to make it to like quarterfinals somehow. But they definitely, I think, have enough gas in their tank to get through at least a round of the tournament.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that they are definitely capable of getting 17th to 24th. Of course, depending on bracket, as usual. Got some, like you said with what was his name? God damn, the Medal Hunter. My brain's gone. Respective, that was the one. God damn, my brain's gone. Yeah, especially with players that are that dedicated to their craft, they usually are dedicated to honing their skills as well. So definitely someone to watch out for. Definitely capable of taking a round, maybe even two, but who knows?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think it averages to 25 to 32.
Yeah, it does. So throw them in there in the soup.
It does again.
Countries there.
It's 25th to 32nd, which has way too many people in it.
Yeah, 25th to like 40th.
UAE.
Yeah, UAE. Void Hero CG5, One Lative, Finzu My Mommy, previously known as Isla, Ayaya 5, Ursito 8, Wake, and KST and H. 53rd in qualifiers last year and 56th the year prior. Finzu and Void are pretty solid. They were both on the team last year. But the team is missing Goatee from last year as well. A couple people here are newer to tournaments, like really newer. We'll see if they can put up some good scores. They mentioned they have a couple good players and some skill sets, but they don't really have enough players to fully cover things like hidden or the more non-conventional maps. So I don't really see them qualifying, and I don't have that much to say beyond that.
Yeah, not much else to say with the previous.
Yeah, for countries like the UAE, you really need like a golden generation pretty much to qualify or even win a match. But now with this roster, I don't think it's happening.
It's sad to see, but I feel like that's the consensus there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see where they
end up. Boys!
The United Kingdom. Hamster Law, Polski 1,
my.
Velcro Shoes, Dr. Skill Issue, Nina My Angel, Wingo, Fury Tail, and Fluxy. Massive rebuilding year for the United Kingdom. Tesco, if you want to speak to more about what's happening there.
Yes, there is a massive rebuild this year. Damash, myself, Neopixel, Sparnif, we had all been going for 4 years. I think 4 years at national competition level at 5 digits.
Yep.
And it was just the last one for us. We were exhausted with it, and we were very proud of our third place run last year. But we all just stepped back. I think Hamster Law being the only remaining player from last year. It is a massive rebuild, and with what people call a fairy tale run for third place, you got to think, where will they place? But looking at the quality of players like Polski, insane, Dr. Skill Issue, insane, Fury Tail, insane. They're all really, really good players, and a lot of them it is their first time playing in tournaments in 5WC, but it's just, you're just gonna have to see them. And if I'm honest, I am fairly certain that a lot of people considered me as the speed player of the UK in previous years. The speed players this year, not going to tell you who, 100% hands down better than I am. Of course, I can't place them as high as third. It's just not, as much as it pains me to say, it's just not that feasible. It was a big run.
Yeah.
I would love for them to prove me wrong, but I'm going to put them around 9th to 12th for this time around. I do think they have what it takes to go far, especially a hamster captaining this time. He was one of the best players of the 2022 squad. A
Yeah.
tiebreaker fucking demon. Oh, pardon my French.
A lot of fantastic usernames, by the way, on this team as well. Velcro Issues and Dr. Skill Issues.
Yeah,
I love
that's-
Dr. Skill Issue. That's great.
Retail.
It's a good. That's a thing that the UK is good for. Spanish
That is
Velcro shoes,
true.
Dr. Skill Issue.
Tesco Meal Deal.
Hey, that's me. 4 years and strong. But yeah, I do think that they have what it takes to go far. Just whether or not they have that little extra that's needed.
Mm-hmm.
It's my boys. I can't dog on my boys. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
We'll see how they end up. I know they're all very, very good tournament players. A lot of these players have been on previous minor league teams. A lot of these players have been around for a long time. It's really whether they can step to some of the stronger competition in the main bracket of the tournament. I don't know how true this is. I've been told that this is like the worst hidden team ever, and that they literally just like gave up on fielding hidden players, which is Riker Ninja isn't seen here, for example. But we'll
Yeah.
see how that fares for them.
The
Withered
loss of
Lotus
Neo
is-
and Sparnev.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Withered
loss of
Lotus
Neo and
seems-
Sparnev for Hidden is... Oh, sorry. Yeah, the loss of Neo and Sparnev for Hidden is detrimental. They
Yeah.
were, for the previous 4 years, they were our core Hidden roster.
Mhm.
Just those two were so good on Hidden, and them both not showing up, it's just kind of like where do we go from here? Because the UK is not known for providing Hidden players, really. It's something that we always had issues with the team building for, and I think it's just, can we not get gapped? That's
Yeah.
pretty much the sentiment I think this year.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Well, their good luck charm of Withered Lotus is not present. Every time the Withered Lotus is on the team, they seem to make some really like top 3 run.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they could fare with that. I believe in them. It's just like these teams are also good in this mid range. It's so hard to tell who's going to really be able to go up or down.
Yeah, I think there are obviously the issues of the hidden, but the one remaining player, Hamster, I'm pretty sure that he'll be able to like round up the newbies together. Also, Polsky, very very strong, like basically all rounder, mostly no mod twos. I was kind of surprised I didn't see him last year, but then I saw you see this team and it's like, okay, well, it makes sense. But he carried me in calls this morning, so I actually have to move this up. So hold on real quick. Let's 7th to 8th. Thank you. Yep, that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Yeah, Rub
Alright.
Rub, the loss of Rub Rub as well. Forgot to mention, definitely the star player of last year was Rub Rub. That's definitely hurts to see. What is he now, like 7K? Probably even higher, 5K. He's insane player. Just picked him out of nowhere, brought him in, and he just did what he did last year. It would have been great to see him again, but alas, I think he'd ranked up just a little too hard. Either that or he just doesn't want to be here, which I don't blame him for. But yeah,
All right.
I'll definitely be watching my boys.
Yeah.
100%.
I think
That's
the
a-
average 13 to 16.
Somewhere around there. We can throw in 13, 16 for now. We are going to have to move someone out of that tier, probably downwards. Given the next team that we have, supposedly keeping the trend here of having red, white, and blue in the top of the tier list here. We have the United States. Heany, N. Markov, who's known as Jellium, Kisoy, who I'm going to call Kisoy, and I'm not saying that out loud. Azurium, Pangatism, Rich P2K, Cat Food, and Unique. Where do I begin with the United States of America? This is such a team here. Obviously, 3 of the people on the panel are from the US. I have a lot to say about it, so give me a minute here. I was convinced about 2 months ago that the USA would not even get close to top 8 this year. Killing Copper, who was one of the best USA players from last year, and someone who looked like they were planning on staying within the rank range at least up to this 5WC, he decided one day he wanted to play remote control double time, and he almost FC'd and got like 580 something, I don't remember. So he's gone. Everyone else either kind of ranked up or quit, or they just said they wouldn't play. Like Azurium, Pangatism, Nico, Noob, Pristine, they all are really phenomenal players from the States, and they all said they weren't playing. And then all 5 of them signed up, and now 2 of them are on the team. And now the captain of the USA team has a South Korean profile flag. And now we're back to top 5 due to all of this, along with a couple other happenings. Kisoy has been heralded recently as USA's best 5-digit. He has been outstanding over the past year in nearly every skill set. He's joined in what I'm calling the main trio for the USA by Jellium and Azurium. Jellium has had a massive explosion in skill over the past month and a half, and he ended up getting first place on both of the USA's tryout waves. The USA normally does 2 stages of tryouts. Azurium is their returning player from 2021, someone who was definitely one of the best players on that year's roster. These 3 players are able to put up fantastic scores on nearly any skill set at nearly any stage of the tournament. The USA's second stage tryout pool was 6.95 stars. Think about how high that is. These are ranked 10,000 players. These 3 players were averaging 450k on that map pool. Jellium and Kisoy both FC'd one of the maps. These players are simply too good to be in this rank range. And I said this earlier, but when you have 3 players in your core that are that outstanding, you have a lot of wiggle room for more specialty players to make sure you can genuinely field the best 4-person roster you can for any given map. And a lot of wiggle room they did have. They had like almost 400 signups. They definitely employed the method of going through the entire top, 10,000 country rank players and just messaging all of them. And they got a pretty good team out of it, I think. Rich P2K is in contention for the best hidden player in the entire tournament. He literally lives and breathes the hidden mod. Unique, probably a name that many people here recognize just due to how unique he is. I know everyone always makes that joke, but it's just... He's unique. He's a low AR gimmick player. He will probably be seen playing easy at multiple times this tournament. I will never forget him pulling out easy on a tiebreaker in TSC over a year ago and just on command FCing, completely washing the other team. He and he the only person on this team who wanted to be the captain, a very solid Hard Rock player who is able to fill nearly anything. He's been around for a very long time, and he's finally able to show his skills on a 5WC stage. Pangatism back from last year in for the DT stuff, and his sheer ability to scale. He gets basically the same scorelines at 5 stars as he does at 7. And then we have the interesting name here, Cat Food. Every single year, the USA manages to spawn some player out of thin air to compete in this tournament. They always do exceptionally well, whoever the spawn is. It was Pangatism last year, it was Maxi the year before, you may know now as Batball. Cat Food is the spawn this year. He has outstanding tapping, exceptional DT skills, was able to provide great backing scores on the rest of the mods as well. These 8 players are a force to be reckoned with, and I think they're going to be absolutely fine in this tournament. I have them at 4th, personally, just seeing that that's the slot on the leaderboard that we need them. A couple fun facts before I shut up. Fancy Lad actually helped somewhat in building this roster. He gave Todacious, who's the country organizer for the USA, a lot of tips on the methods he uses during team drafting. The team that Fancy Lad made for them isn't the one that was used, but he did help out a really big amount. Also, with the exception of Karasmic playing in 2019 and 2020, this is the first time that the USA roster actually has not been a completely new, fresh 8 players. They have, returning players for once, and that is cool. Okay, that's it. That's it for my USA rant. I have them at 4th place.
This country has no shot. USA sucks at OSU. Yeah, real talk, I put them at 3rd personally. I really believe in the USA and how they're going to do this year. I put them above the Netherlands, which I think might surprise a lot of people, but I just, I played the tryout and I just saw this. The first feeling I felt looking at the pools this time was, okay, this country fully intends to win. There's absolutely no shot that a win isn't what they're going for. I think just with this lineup, I really like this lineup. I think it's really, really good. I think the USA absolutely has the shot for a 3rd place, and so that is where I am ranking them personally.
Yeah, it's the USA is always scary, no matter what the roster is, whether they return, whether they're not. It's you for other teams we've been saying, oh, this team lost X player, this team lost Y player. This team has lost Killing Copper, Stage, JHK, Imanoob, Gragwan, and Numbers. 6
It's not
all-star
just me.
players, and we're
Nico.
still singing their praises. 6 players that would be absolute superstar players for other teams, and it almost doesn't matter, just due to the unreal strength of the USA as a country. Pangetism and Unique remaining arguably 2 of the scarier players from yesteryear's team. I know when we played them, I saw Unique join the lobby and I almost I had to go to the bathroom a couple times. But yeah, it just goes to show the USA doesn't play around. Definitely not. They are one of the most motivated teams that I've seen, and they definitely intend to win. I do have them at 4th this time around, simply due to, of course, the 3 teams above them. I was and ahhing in my mind whether Russia or the USA takes 2nd place. In the end, I did put Russia over them. But even still, I think, again, if Tycani can break out the coin again, it applies for Russia and the USA.
I just want to bring up, by the way, I got a ping from the National Dutch Championship server just saying NL will stomp USA, and I just needed to bring that up.
All right. Well, you can come try us then.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
how you
yeah,
do.
you're right.
We definitely did put them above the US though.
I think we're you guys are underestimating this Canadian team so hard. I don't
I
know if
feel
it's
like
gonna
I
age
am.
well, but
That's what I was thinking.
I think it is extremely realistic that the Canadian team beats this US team. This might age very bad, but looking at the rosters right now, I think there's a possibility.
I think
Yeah,
you
I
can
can-
say
I
that
can see
about
it.
any team in the top 8, the top 6, even.
Yeah, for
You say
sure.
that about any team. If you say this team could beat this team, it applies for every team in the top 6.
Yeah.
Of course, this is like the prediction stream isn't the be-all end-all of this will happen. Any team realistically could beat any team. Just depends on the day and the player's skill at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just like a sort of a rough outline. But yeah, the USA in 4th. It doesn't feel right, but looking at the rest of the field, it kind of fits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can never truly sleep on the States. We'll see how they do. I could easily again see them getting 1st.
It's like when did they lose last year? It was semis. They went down to losers in semis.
Yeah.
And then
And then
came
they ran it
back.
And then they
and they-
7-0'd Germany in the first round of grand finals.
And then sadly lost to tiebreaker, which is insane. They got 13 points in a grand finals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lucky.
we're throwing them in 4th as kind of a
All right.
polar,
Yeah.
so not the average. So we'll be there for now. We're gonna have to rearrange a lot of this, but for the time being, we have 2 more countries to go. Uruguay, Scramsy, Lola Sinlol, Rami 12-890, Finn 11ing, Hanabi, Vlaus, Little Fede, sorry, and Kitasa. They were 58th out of qualifiers last year, which was near the bottom. I don't see what roster changes would have happened to change that for them. They were really limited on who they had for signups. Their best player in Scramsy hasn't played a tournament since like last July. I don't think there's anyone else here who really has the skill cap to be contending to qualify on a 6.3 star pool. I do not think they will be dead last. I have hopes that they can do a little bit better than last year, but I think qualifying is a bit of a leap.
Have we been Mandela affected? I'm just reading the chat. I think we've been Mandela affected. The USA players are saying there was no bracket reset last year. Apparently Germany just straight up won.
I have an M healing for...
They 7-0 us.
Oh,
That might be.
damn it.
That
It
might
was
be.
the UK.
they
I
7-0
read...
us.
Okay, that's... My apologies. I'm a Melee player. When I read Grand Finals 1 and Grand Finals 2, I think Grand Finals and bracket reset.
Me too.
That's
Yeah.
my bad.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, they did
stuck
7-0
again?
us because that was just sort of a bit of a whitewash, and we knew it would happen from the moment we joined the lobby. But yeah, no bracket reset. There's nothing.
Uruguay, they're gonna do better than last year because they have 8 players now. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I still see a DNQ.
Yep.
Even with 8 players, it's hard to see them really making it.
All right.
And we have Vietnam, who we need to fit into this already very populated roster somehow.
Where do they go?
Vietnam.
Kazakhstan, formerly known as Faith with a Y, Rin, Updraft, Sonokaz, Kyoko, Cryotix, Shadow King, and Utami. This roster was submitted on January 11th, which was 12 days before registrations even ended. Their roster was formed with the help of, and I quote, one of the hardest tryout pools ever made in all of Vietnam ever. They mentioned that each player has their strong suit, but they can all help fill slots if needed, except for Shadow King. That was their words, not mine. Gino was originally on this roster, if anyone remembers my aim Gino Killer from 2021, but sometime around the end of January they swapped him out with Utami, not sure why, but it's nice to see him playing. Very surprising to see, unsurprising to see Crytek and Updraft. They've been very historically good in tournaments. I think they'll do just fine here. Vukowski back in range, nice to see them back as well. Not very surprised to see them either. Sonokaz in as mostly their aim specialist, Kyoko and Utami here for DT and some mechanics on Kyoko's end mostly. Shadow King brings up their hidden and their general reading. A little newer to tournament, some of the players are just listed, but they've been putting up pretty good scores recently. I know most of them played MDDC recently. I'm not sure if they were on the same team. But out of this whole roster, I really want to highlight Rin. He's not really a tournament player. The only tournaments he has played the bracket stage of in the last 3 years is last year's 5WC. And despite this, he was the clear #1 out of their qualifier and performed well on literally everything. He's their ace in the sleeve. He is absolutely the player to look out for in this roster. They did get a few hits then. I forget how to pronounce his name. He's BWS out of range. Yes, thank you, Tan. He's BWS out of range, so he's not playing. Tomato Hung also missing from the roster, but the players who remain are definitely capable of putting up a pretty good fight. I have them 13th personally.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like last year's 7th is a big result for them.
Mhm.
I don't really see them matching it again, even though they do have a help of a player who's peaked rank 4 in the world. No, over your heads. Ah, there you go. No, yeah, it's yeah,
Yeah.
the loss of Tan and Pinku as well. I believe he did. I remember him playing quite well last year.
Holy shit, the big black.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Holy shit!
Amazing.
But yeah, I think 17th to 24 is where they fit in this year.
Yep.
You know, Bone 1.
Bone 1 as well. Mm.
I guess this averages to 17-24. We can throw them there just for the sake of trying to organize this right now. Because
Okay.
now we get to the part where we get to organize these teams.
Yeah,
buddy.
Hell yeah.
So just looking at this at a base, we need to move someone down from... We need to move 2 teams down from 13 to 16. Who?
Then one down from 9 to 12.
Yes.
Then one down from 7 to 8.
Yes. Who are we moving down from 13 16? I am looking at these
I don't know,
teams.
man.
I would
It's
say
not
China,
Hong
UK.
Kong. It's not Japan.
Yeah, I would. As it pains me to say, I would say the UK looks to be
Yeah.
moving down here.
UK. Yep.
And then between Finland and China.
You need a coin flip?
I think it's hard for me to tell.
I think Finland would be like the safer bet,
Mm.
They're
but
both so good.
yeah,
I think personally, like I feel like I recognize more players on Finland, but I feel like the players I recognize on China are just like a little more solid of a backing.
yeah,
Players like GXY, Aquatokura, Michika, DN Wings, Worthless Player are all really good, like consistent players. If they were to play each other, I think it would be very close. But I think in the end that China would barely edge them out. That's just my initial
Yeah.
thought, at least.
Mm.
I
So
agree.
I guess Finland's moving down. I hope they prove me wrong, though. Finland is very good.
Yeah. They
Uh,
always have the chance to prove us wrong. That's the great thing about this.
Yes.
We're gonna have to move 3 people down to DNQ as well. We have qualified 35 teams.
We'll get there in a second. 9-12, we need to move someone down. Indonesia, Poland, Malaysia, and Taiwan. It's not Taiwan. It's not Malaysia.
probably has to be Poland, right?
Yeah, my first thought was Poland. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's due to
Indonesia's
the-
not too good.
due to the level of competition at that level there.
9 to 12
Sorry,
is
Poland.
taken up by the Asian teams.
And now,
that is-
which 7 to 8 do we bring down?
Yeah, this one's a little harder. I mean, on my personal list, I had Germany 9-12 and the other two 7-8. I could really be argued any different direction on this. I just think that the Australian core players of like Yuri Train Jumper and Supernai, and the Philippine having like
I just
Nathan,
think
Yuki, Scene, and Zyfox.
it's not Philippines. That's just what I
It
think.
was definitely not.
I think we
I
just
don't
move
think
down
it's-
Germany then, because it can't be
Yeah,
Australia.
Germany.
Yeah, it's not
Germany too.
Australia.
I feel
Sorry, Germany.
wrong saying that Germany's 9-12, but I don't know
Yeah.
how.
I don't think they beat Australia or Philippines, though, right? I think those are
Yeah,
just.
if I'm matching those
better
two
teams.
teams up in my head, I have Australia winning, personally.
Yeah, that's the problem. We've reached such a a high point of skill that Germany is at 9-12.
Yeah.
That does feel
It's-
kind of ridiculous to me.
It just does not feel right at
Yeah.
all, putting
All right,
Germany
we
that
need to
low.
move one team up from 25 to 32. I hope I have all these flags right. Argentina, Belarus, Belgium, Chile, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Italy, Peru,
Italy.
Slovakia,
Yeah.
Spain, Switzerland, and Ukraine. I would say probably Ukraine personally. I can see
I
why
would
you're saying.
say Peru.
I could see an argument for Peru. It just
Gotta
feels,
be Italy.
it feels hard for Peru because they just lost so many players, but the players they still have are really good. So,
All right.
I think Italy
Yeah.
makes sense. I wrongly gave it a DNQ earlier, and then I thought about it a little bit more. I was like,
Gotta be Italy.
maybe that's not right.
maybe.
Italy number
I
one.
could see Italy freeway just kind of like gapping everyone. I could
Yeah.
see that happen to
Mm.
whoever they play. Yeah, I can sign off on that. We'll move Italy up. And then from there we have, yeah, 11 teams here. We need to move 3 down. Okay, I will say to base level: Argentina, Belarus, Chile, Denmark, Peru, and Ukraine, and in my opinion, Switzerland are staying. That's my thoughts. So it's between like Belgium,
I
the
think
Czech Republic.
think we
No,
can move.
Slovakia is staying too.
I think we can move Czech and Belgium down. I think.
I don't think we can move Belgium down.
No. Oh no.
It's so hard because like Jaja Maru, I feel like he shouldn't be on a team that doesn't qualify, but there's so many good teams right here that it's hard to
Yeah.
like judge. I can't argue that team over any other team either. These teams are just so strong overall.
Are we gonna toss a coin or?
Yeah.
If we just keep coin flipping things, this is gonna end up a very funny looking tier list. I'm thinking that the Czech Republic seems fine as much as I feel like it's wrong just to have something on the board. Belgium and Spain and I don't know. I cannot possibly see that Argentina, Belarus, Chile, Denmark, Peru, Slovakia, Ukraine, and Switzerland don't qualify, and that's 8 teams. That leaves Spain and Belgium, but I also kind of feel like they qualify too, but we can't qualify 10 teams.
Yeah, I think putting Spain down. I think we can because I think Belarus is just pretty decent right now. I mean, Peru did really well last year, even though they lost so many people. It's just hard to imagine that they go DNQ. Slovakia, I mean, it's got to be their year, right? I think Spain, as much like I said, as it pains, I think Spain is probably one of the teams we put down there.
Maybe. I'm just trying to think of which of these teams does best on the 6.3 star map pool. I think that Spain is not terrible, but I think a lot of these other countries have players that are better equipped to like really skill cap that kind of a pool. Which is why I think that they wouldn't, but that's also like why I think that the Czech Republic will qualify, and that gets me stuck again. This is hard.
Flip a coin. Flip. Let's flip a coin.
Let's flip
How
a
many-
coin, yeah.
All right,
At this
fine.
point.
What is heads and what is tails?
Who are we flipping? Who are we flipping coin for
Oh
though?
my god,
Okay, who stays on heads? Who stays on tails?
this is very silly.
I think Spain stays on heads and Czech stays on tails.
All right,
Sure.
All right.
Oh, we still need to move 3.
Czech
Yeah.
stays.
All
Czech
right.
stays, Spain goes.
Goodbye, Spain.
Sure,
Bye.
sure thing.
I think that is a
Bitcoin.
compliment. That's a compliment to the level of play this year. That the fact that we have to leave it to dumb luck to actually,
Yeah, because this is actually kind of
think of a
accurate
team.
to how this is going to play out, because any of these are a coin flip.
To
Absolutely.
think of a team that doesn't qualify, we have to rely on a coin flip. It's Spain in their hearts are in 25th to 32nd.
This is ridiculous.
We gotta
They
do
want
one
that
more coin flip.
honorary in there. Got one more coin flip.
We
Here
need
we
one more
go.
coin. I think it's Belgium and someone else,
we have
right?
multiple coin flips to do. I think I don't see. I think. Okay, Argentina definitely qualifies. I think that the Mazda CX-7 motor is too good at the game. Same with NAM. I think Belarus qualifies. There's no chance the Czech does not qualify. I think Chile's core roster of Misaka Mikoto and Sifs and Akemi is good enough to qualify. I think that Denmark's core roster of Lamy1 and Citysnaf is good enough to qualify. I think that Peru's roster... I'd say that Carrion Mix probably qualify. I maybe have them like 32-31, but I think they qualify. Slovakia definitely qualifies. Switzerland hasn't failed to qualify with the same players, and I think they have improved, so I think they still qualify. And Ukraine, I feel like UNaval and Blackjack are just kind of too good to not qualify.
I think it's a coin flip between Belgium and Peru then.
You think so?
I don't know. I really don't know, honestly.
I can see it.
I definitely think it's between Belgium and someone else.
I think
we do need to move
Ukraine.
I think we do need to move the Czech Republic down, regardless.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I don't think Ukraine is in this coin flip. I think if you had to give something, it's I guess Belgium and Peru. I feel weird saying that Peru wouldn't qualify, but if that's where we're going, we kind of do have to coin flip this.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tight qualifiers, that's for sure.
It's definitely there's not going to be a lot of points between each team whatsoever.
Yeah. So I guess we run that coin flip.
All right, run it back.
All right.
Heads Belgium stays, tails Peru stays. That's what we're doing.
All right. Oh my gosh, I just dropped the coin.
Rerun it.
The most intense coin
Let's
flip.
drop the coin.
Belgium stays.
Belgium stays.
Let's
Belgium
go.
stays.
Let's go.
Okay. Sorry,
Peru.
Peru.
No, they better qualify.
Sorry, Peru.
So yeah, with Peru and the Czech Republic out of that,
With
if you can move the Czech Republic down.
some arguable methods to finalize the list there.
That's not true. Those are very legitimate.
I think that unironically, most of the teams in D&Q and most of the teams in 25-32 are probably interchangeable.
Yeah.
It is literally a coin flip on whoever the best players on those teams, whether they are on during their qualifier lobby or not. Oh yeah, you can do the speech bubble now. Please go ahead.
It's honestly gonna depend on who plays better that day, pretty much.
There's too many good players. There are straight up too many good players to just quantify it in a list with finite spaces. It's you just can't straight up. Even putting players like teams like Germany in 9 to 12.
Just kind of crazy.
I feel wrong. I hope I'm
not,
wrong.
They won. They won last year, and we're putting them 9 to 12 this year.
I hope that this is the worst prediction I've ever made, and that literally 0 out of 32.
I hope to God that we're wrong. I hope we get clowned.
USA will not qualify.
That's the goal, honestly.
France gets fucking 59th. There you
go. Yeah.
Let's go.
France.
That does it for the tier list, I suppose. Thank you all for watching the stream. I'm sure the tier list quote speech bubble, I'm surprised it hasn't been posted already. I'm surprised nobody had that Photoshop thing open to begin with to make a template out of it. Come on.
Surely it's been.
There it is.
There it is.
Our wonderful graphicstician.
There we go. Wonderful.
That is a starboard and a half right there.
We pulled it up on stream.
As I said earlier, this will be wrong. If you think you will predict the tournament better than I do, you can test your luck in the pick'ems in the link I just put in the chat. I wish every team participating the best of luck. I hope everyone can perform to the level that they desire of themselves, and I hope everyone has a good time regardless of the result they may get. I hope we see all of these countries come back last team, donate to the prize pool. Let's check out our sponsors. Yeah, cool, awesome. 5 digits, yeah.
Good night, guys, or good morning, or good evening.
Yep. Thank you all for watching. Sorry to East Asia for the time zone stuff. We'll catch you all later. I don't know what the next stream will be, if it's the map pool or if it's the qualifier results, but we'll see you then.
See
USA
ya.
Steve 42.
Bye.